It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacey Higginbotham and Jeff Jarvis are here. We're going to talk about the latest news from the Googleverse. We'll talk, there's some heavy duty. I like to mix it up. Some heavy duty philosophical stuff and also a kind of grab bag of new features and new stuff from Google. And we'll demonstrate a new 360-degree camera. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 365, recorded Wednesday, August 10th, 2016. Corgi Shorts. This Week in Google is brought to you by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service and the most sophisticated way to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/twig and sign up to get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/twig. And by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, a show where we cover not Google, but everything. Anything we want to talk about. Google, of course, Facebook, the internet, the cloud, the internet of things, the internet of dings, the internet of ding-dongs, journalism. Jeff Jarvis is here. He's a professor of journalism at the City University of New York. He's got his 360 and his Mevo, and he's videoing us right now. He's turned the tables on us.
That's right.
You used the Mevo for .nyc last week. It was really interesting.
And I used it again today, and yeah, it's great. It's great. It's really amazing to work with. Yeah.
I turned off the auto features though, and just do it by hand. That's the key.
Yes. Oh no, the auto is a neat concept, but no, you want to do it by hand.
If you were all alone, then because auto follows your face and follows.
Even then, no. So Leo, I was thinking about this. I don't want to delay Stacey's intro, but I was thinking about this. When you were in the cottage, you switched to yourself, right?
I still do when I'm in my studio.
That's right. Of course, in your office. Yes. So I wonder what it would be like to use the Mevo as people look at this. Oh, I have to have a producer. I'm thinking, well, no. Leo does it.
No, in fact, I did it on Windows Weekly when I first unboxed the Mevo. I had my iPad. iPad's perfect for this, by the way, better than an iPhone because you get a big screen. And yeah, I was switching while I was talking. Easy peasy.
Yeah. But you know what? Even on the iPhone, the guy who came over and did our first demo of the Mevo from Livestream at CUNY used his iPhone. It's fine. But I delay the important moment of the show.
The most important moment. Stacey Higginbotham is with us. From Stacey on IoT.com. She's Giga Stacey on the Twitter, and Jeff and I, obviously, as old men, have a crush on you, Stacey. So
smitten. We're
smitten.
Our network is smitten.
We adore. Everybody adores Stacey Higginbotham. Hello, Stacey.
Hello.
We don't get out much. It's.
I was going to feel bad for you. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of really exciting people out there.
No. You're great. No, we such a good addition to the show. Everybody's.
We love you because the network loves you. Everyone.
Everybody loves it.
The comments that I mean, you see them too on Twitter, but I get them every week. I'm so happy Stacey's there. I don't have to listen to you as much, Jarvis.
You know what I loved? John Oliver's, I think, ode to local journalism, although there were some who did not think this was an ode to local journalism.
That was absurd.
On his This Week Tonight, he talks about the fact that his show, our show, most of the 24-hour news networks depend on small local newspapers for the reportage. And there was a point where somebody's speaking on a panel and says, the day that we see a Huffington Post reporter in City Hall covering the city council meeting is the day journalism will have survived. But, of course, you'll never. Even Ariana was down. She was on the panel. She was down the panel laughing. We'll play a little bit of it because it's kind of a nice.
So here's the funny thing: I was at Aspen Institute, had a Wither journalism thing that I was at this weekend, and so we get there Sunday night, and we have dinner and we drink, and then we all go off to our rooms, and then the next morning we all woke up, and if you didn't see the night before, I saw it on my feed immediately. You have to watch Oliver. You have to watch John Oliver. So he rakes over the coals. The company we've talked about here, Trunk, formerly Tribune Publishing, the owner of Trunk was at the event.
Oh boy,
Michael Farrow, who's a very nice guy. He took it with great grace and was a good guy. However, the Newspaper Association of America has no sense of humor whatsoever.
Well, that guy
didn't understand it was a Valentine.
He's not. And by the way, he didn't come from journalism. He didn't come.
Farrow.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the NA guy or the
the guy from the Association of whatever?
Oh,
was some.
Well, it's Newspaper Association of America, and efforts to take the paper out have failed.
Yeah. Anyway,
they are the old farts of old farts.
Well, but also the guy who runs it is not a newspaper.
No, he's not. No.
So
I knew his predecessor, who I think is probably happy to be out.
Yeah, he didn't understand it. Anyway, I don't know how much of this I want to play.
It's 20 minutes. The Oliver video is 20 minutes, but it's very funny. Very
both of you were in the news and reporters. So.
The heroes that we root for in movies like All the President's Men, The Great Muppet Caper, and most recently, Spotlight.
We gotta nail these scumbags. We gotta show people that nobody can get away with this. Not a priest or a cardinal or a freaking pope.
Now remember, Spotlight actually won Best Picture at the Oscars this year, meaning newspapers finally received the recognition that we normally reserve for subjects of such importance as the incredible bravery of real-life Hollywood filmmakers, the incredible bravery of fictional Hollywood filmmakers, and the incredible bravery of wanting to f*** your daughter's friends. But
let me jump to the end because he then does a parody of Spotlight.
And it might go all the way to the top.
All the way to the top.
They knew. And I think we could prove that they knew.
This is at the editorial meeting.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what kind of clicks we're going to get on that. Anybody else?
I've got a thing about a cat that looks like a raccoon. Or it could be a raccoon that looks like a cat. Wait, I'm not sure.
Now we're talking.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's great.
So,
figure that out.
Okay,
so the one reporter left wants to cover corruption in City Hall, but the raccoon cat ends up winning. It's kind of true.
It's crushing, actually. As someone who sat in newsrooms and the meetings. Yeah.
He also plays, and I have to be a little careful on this. This is a clip. Well, I'll let him set it up here.
Sentinel and the Chicago Tribune. After acquiring the company, he spoke to the Sentinel's nervous staff outlining his vision. And listen to one particular exchange with a journalist.
This is the prior
his
owner,
last
Sam
two
Zell.
words are perhaps the most illuminating.
Before Trump.
My attitude on journalism is very simple.
My attitude on journalism is very simple. I want to make enough money so I can afford you, which is reasonable. I'm sure Jeff Bezos says that. It's really that simple, okay?
You need to, in effect, help me.
You need to help
by
me.
being a journalist.
Now, this is the challenge. By being a journalist that focuses on what our readers want and therefore generates more revenue. A very brave young woman in the audience asked, what if readers want to know about puppy dogs? We also need to inform the community. He says,
I'm sorry. I can't, you're giving me the classic, what I would call journalistic arrogance of deciding that puppies don't count.
He then proceeds to cuss her out. So, and says, eventually, we hope that we get to the point where our revenue is so significant we could cover Iraq and puppies.
They're both right and they're both wrong. I mean, to say that we
Well, you got to survive as a business. You got to, right?
A, and B, to say, all the readers want is puppies, then why bother doing journalism for them at all? That's a gross insult to the public we serve. It's not true, and it is arrogant to say that.
Yeah.
I don't want to defend Sam Zell, who ruined the company, but
no
sorry,
person. Well, no, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit in the sense that people value journalism, but they don't want to pay for it. And there's in the models associated with journalism today, make it really hard to find people who are willing to pay for or sponsor your content.
But nobody ever really paid for journalism. The journalism was paid for by the giant full-page display ads that the journalism was meant to separate in newspapers, and by the classifieds ads in the back of it. That's what paid for it. Even those of us who subscribed to the newspaper didn't pay for the newspaper in any appreciable way, right?
Right. Subscriptions. Well.
Here's Jeff holding up his book, Geeks Bearing Gift, Reimagining in Futures.
In which I address that, Stacey. And what I argue is that The problem is we fancy ourselves entertainers and we think we're making unique products like Game of Thrones. But we're not. We're in the information business. And information, once it's known, is quickly commodified. And a free society wants it that way. And you can't own information. You can't control information. And so we are trying to keep an old business model that just simply doesn't work anymore. And this myth that people paid for our stuff, A, Leo's right, it was always subsidized. And B, they paid because there was a monopoly involved. And once you're in this world saying people should pay for what we do, well, why, if there's a free copy that gives me the same value 2 clicks away? No. So we've got to find other structures of value. And I work with newspaper companies trying to do that. But and there are some things people will pay for if they're really specialized, if they're unique, if they're really high value. But generalized information, there's a guy climbing on the Trump Tower. I don't need to pay for that. I can find 100 places telling me that right now.
Interestingly, though, the Olympics are going on right now. I just saw a report that said people were more interested in the presidential election than in the Olympics. There was a lot more interest in the presidential election than there was in the Olympics. I think people are interested in news.
It's the dope and the doped. Sorry.
I wonder how many people are less interested in the Olympics because they can't see it.
Right. Well, they're doing a terrible job, aren't they? But they always do. I don't know why people are surprised.
I'm just curious. Have either of you watched much of the Olympics yet?
I have a lot.
I haven't seen any of the Olympics.
Oh,
I'm with you, Stacey. I haven't seen a minute.
I've watched hours. Oh, you don't have cable. You can't.
Right.
So
actually, you can. There's ways you can get the NBC. Oh, no, you can't.
There are ways. I could legally I could quasi-legally get the Olympics, but it's just not worth it to me.
It's a lot of work.
No.
I mean, it's a lot of...
If you have cable, first of all, the first thing you realize is how much cable real estate Comcast actually owns. Because there's NBC, there's NBC Sports Network, there's USA, there's Bravo, there's MSNBC. They have half of my cable is Olympics right now. Which really kind of brings home the fact that Comcast kind of really shouldn't be intermingling with NBC, but that's too late now. I think the Olympics are, well, here's what happened to me. I was watching and I was thinking about it. We always complain, but if I were a network executive, here's what I would say. The Olympics have no value minus the value we add. It's just some people seeing who can swim the fastest. You could go down to the local rec center and see that. In and of itself, it isn't interesting. We add, I'm speaking for NBC, a huge amount of drama and interest to it. That's what we're doing here. And we're crafting it with editing and time delay and pauses, and we'll be back and all of the preview stuff that lets everybody know that Simone Biles is the best gymnast in the world. I did not know that. In fact, I think I'm saying her name wrong. I did not know that if NBC hadn't told me that. They make all the value of the Olympics. They're actually creating the value. The athletes are, but there's a Paralympics right after that. I don't see a lot of people glommed in on that.
Would you make the same argument about football? You
yes.
can go down to the high school and see football.
So if you're complaining about, the way NBC's doing it, you're missing the point. It's all about the way NBC's doing it. That's what's paying for this. That's what's making this happen. That's what it's all about. It's like, saying, I just wish they wouldn't cook my steak. That's it.
There's a lot of people who hate the packaging.
Oh, it's highly packaged. But as I said, minus the packaging, it's not that interesting.
I would beg to differ. I think there probably wouldn't be as wide of an audience, but it's a huge social phenomenon. So people would watch it.
Stacey, that's the thing. I know journalists who were down there at the time, and they're tweeting, and I'm saying, what's going on? And of course, I don't remember it's time delayed. So it takes away the social phenomenon by syncopating it.
Oh, I know. And by being all cranky about using the hashtags and everything else that NBC is purporting.
Well, the IOC is a horrifically corrupt.
The IOC.
The IOC is horrifically corrupt, as bad as FIFA probably when we get down to it. But it's the reason they're corrupt is because there's a lot of money flowing from NBC and the other networks all around the world. It's manufactured as much as a movie is manufactured. And when it would be like saying, well, I really hate the way that the Bourne Identity is being delivered to us. They really that's the deal. You can't,
No, it is real-time sports. It is packaged. It is not as much packaged as a movie is, because it's more packaged like a newspaper or anything, because they're still dealing with facts. I mean, they are eliciting people's life stories, and they're telling that to you, and I think that's great, and there is value there. But it's not like complaining about how a movie's delivered.
Well, totally I'm just saying, first of all, neither of you are watching it, which kind of proves my point. So I should point out, you could say that, but you obviously have no interest in it, even with the packaging. So and you could watch an unfiltered stream of this stuff with no commentary. Have you watched that? There's no. It's boring. It's like,
oh yeah.
I did that for ice skating, for figure skating during the Winter Olympics. I've not
without Dick Button going, oh my God, she just did a triple Lutz axel. I've never seen that before in my life. It's just somebody doing that.
That's actually pretty cool.
Okay. Well, you must know something about skating.
Gymnastics. I think gymnastics is awesome to watch, both men and women.
I love watching it, but I think that we love watching it because of the drama that is added.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I covered the LA Olympics many years ago. And so, oh, goody, I can go and watch a swimming meet. And yeah.
You should have gone to watch fencing. That would be awesome. That's actually
only if you know. You have to know the sport so well that you know why that it was dramatic that he did this and the thing went. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of guys jumping around with pieces of metal in their hands. It has no meaning. It's meaningless unless we gloss it, I think.
Well, so let me ask you this, Leo. What if you could have, and this idea has been talked about, what if you had the Mystery Science Theater 3000, the chat room, the Twitch chat room of other, not NBC telling you what's going on, but people you would like and enjoy.
They won't do as good. They won't, I think, do as good a job, frankly, because this is
it might be a lot more amusing.
Maybe.
Oh, so much better. Some of those announcers are like idiots.
I hear people saying that, but I think this is what it is. That's what the Olympics is that.
Idiots talking about sports?
Yeah, hyping it up like crazy.
That you otherwise wouldn't possibly care about.
Right.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I mean, I agree. If you're like an archery buff or a fencing buff or, man.
All three of you.
You love, then you're going to want to and you should go to the events. You should go. But for most people, if it weren't for the networks ginning it up, I don't think it'd be that interesting. And so it's I agree. I complain but I think if you think about it, what we're complaining is what we say we want is not. This is, by the way, a huge problem in general. People say they want something, they don't really want it.
Right.
People don't know what they want, and this gets us back to journalism. We all say we want journalism, but we still really prefer puppies. Right?
You can prefer puppies. I mean. Yes. I mean, there's just not a model for monetizing quality journalism,
right?
Especially public service. Like I can monetize my stuff because it's insights about business. So that's less problematic.
Business is always monetizable. Yep. Because
so
you're making somebody money.
Right.
Yeah.
But stopping corruption at City Hall, which was part of his point, that's good for a wide number of the population. But there's that whole concept that they're not all they'll get value from it, but they don't want to pay for that because it's kind of is it Tragedy of the Commons? My God, I can't remember what the.
No, that's something else.
Yeah.
That's when everybody overuses free resources.
Overuses something.
Yeah.
There's an economic thing that I cannot remember where if you don't. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry, I can't remember. But
that was John Oliver's point. And I think you're right. I think that was a very strong point, which is. In fact, I don't know, he had somebody on tape saying this is going to be a field day for the corrupt politician because...
That was David Simon.
David Simon, the guy who wrote The Wire. That's right.
Yeah, who himself gets very old farty and defensive about the old ways of newspapers and all that. And mind you, I teach journalism. I care about this deeply. But we've got to find new models. We shouldn't be presuming that we're preserving the old models is the right way to go about it.
But what if there's no role for journalism in the new model? What if there's only a role for puppies?
No, I think that there is, but I don't think the problem is you're not going to be, if you rely on mass, on reach and frequency, then puppies is it. That's it. Puppies and cats will fight it out. That's all there is to it because we know where that goes. If, however, we see journalism as a service where there's a valued relationship, which is my argument in, sorry for the plug, then there are other things.
Geek Sparing Gift.
Sorry, yes.
Well,
There
there are a lot
are
of
for the
audio
audio
listeners who have no idea what.
It was bad enough I didn't do the video people. That's true. I guess the sound effect wasn't too good. He's opening a door. What the hell are you doing? So my argument is that if you know people as individuals, members of communities, you can serve them with greater relevance. You'll make more ad money because they'll come back more often because it's valuable. You'll have higher targeting value, which is also good. But you'll also have other opportunities like Texas Tribune has with events. I have to believe someday soon that Jeff Bezos is going to turn his knowledge about Washington Post consumers into a store. You have membership, which The Guardian is working on. You have a hell of a lot more efficiency. And you don't have to, in the mass media world, you've got to rewrite everybody else's story to have your own page and page view. In a quality-based service business, then you won't. You can't afford to do that. And so we're going to fundamentally change. I was just writing a post, I haven't put it up yet, arguing this is heresy. This is high heresy. If you know I got shot at a journalism school, this is why. So I said, journalists are not storytellers. We think that's our highest art, our great value is we tell stories. No, we impart information and we help people get to their own information. And there's a lot of ways to do that more efficiently and effectively, but it's going to take time. And we can't presume that our old models of mass media advertising and circulation revenue are going to do it. We have to reinvent. Sorry, end of spiel.
What I wonder is if we're not in a time where we're in the ultimate democracy, where the mass interests are what count. That because what you're talking about is an elitist model versus a democratic model.
Not necessarily elitist. I mean, if a paywall is an elitist model, you're going to if you can afford to pay for the news and others can't, that's an elitist model. No, I actually argued the contrary, Leo. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. This is the end. What the internet kills is the mass media business model, and with it dies the notion of the mass. No, it's not about the mass. It's about how 4 million Americans can vote in Donald Trump to be challenging the White House right now because they can find each other and organize and do things. Black Lives Matter on the good side of this can organize in a way that the big media didn't tell the truth of their story, and now they can tell their own story as a community. That's what's different. That's fundamentally different. Stacey wants to argue. Just go.
I don't. I actually saw a segue into one of our stories.
Oh, aren't you the broadcaster?
This is me, man. I'm like, boom, let's move it. So with Facebook, this ties in because you called it the end of the mass, but Procter & Gamble this week basically like threw a bomb in Facebook's business model and was like, you know what? Your targeted advertising, it's not necessarily working for us. We actually want mass. And so I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to let Facebook and Procter & Gamble do it for me. Da, da, da.
Yes. So Procter & Gamble, the worst of the big, old, huge mass manufacturers who force you all to use the same toothpaste and all to eat the same snack, even though we don't like
why
it.
are they so
They are
bad?
dependent upon that.
Well, okay, that makes sense because a company that produces a commodity,
yes,
and I would submit that dish soap, clothing soap, toothpaste, those are commodities. The difference between Crest and Colgate is really minimal, right? So those companies, it's all about brand and convincing you their brand is somehow magically better than the other guy's brand. And maybe just it's really all about impressions, just a lot of impressions like Tide.
That's their argument, is that they still need to just convince you to buy it. Yeah,
they don't have to say Tide is better. They just say Tide.
But this is why, Stacey, at the exact same time, Facebook is saying enough of Tide. We're gonna let you get rid of detergent ads if you want to, because you have to have more control over it. As they, of course, institute an ad blocker, but they've got to give you more control over that because you do get irritated by all that mass stuff that's irrelevant to you.
Here's what I think. Procter
This
and
whole show
Gamble.
is what you think.
Yeah, sorry. I should shut up.
You don't have to label it. Go ahead and just say it. I'm sorry. No,
Would you like to know what I think?
Yes, I would. Leo.
I think there is. Remember, when Procter & Gamble speaks this way, they're not. This isn't the chairman of Procter & Gamble, the president of Procter & Gamble, the chief marketing officer of Procter & Gamble. This is the agency, the ad agency.
Yes.
And what ad agencies probably don't like the chairman and president of Procter & Gamble to know is how ineffective and inefficient their television ads are. The problem with direct ads, the kind of ads you do on Facebook, is you can measure them very carefully. And it's probably scary for them. They'd much rather work in ignorance and in mystery than have real numbers about effectiveness. Because
So
if
I
you're right,
think
ads aren't
they
effective.
changed their mind. They changed their mind, though, because they saw sales of a certain product, and I'm looking to see what it was, go down.
Because they advertised on Facebook?
Well, hold on.
Because they
Let's
took the same amount of money
and
they tried to
Right.
focus and they didn't get the reach they needed for a commodity product. A. B. They had to spend more
Cited
money
papers.
on
Oh,
the
there
actual
was
media buying than on
Voice
the
of
actual
God.
media.
Yes. So
Because it's harder to buy targeted advertising. It's a lot easier to buy mass.
We don't get brand advertising on this show, or I think most podcasts probably don't get much brand advertising either. It's almost all direct response. Facebook's probably all direct response, right? That's just the nature of the internet. You do well when
you're provable. Your ROI is demonstrable.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think ultimately, in the long run, this is kind of a retro point of view. That ultimately, 10 years or 20 years, when the next generation gets into Procter & Gamble, they're going to say, "But we have to." A lot of our advertisers say, "We want to know more about your audience. We want to know more about the direct response. We want to measure our response more, not less. We want to know how."
May I interrupt with something here?
Yeah.
So ABC7NY is broadcasting the Trump guy on Facebook Live.
Yeah, guy's climbing.
Yeah. So I didn't see that happening.
Yeah,
yet.
he's climbing
That's new
the
to me.
Trump Tower with suction cups.
I'm sorry, that was just a little Facebook Live note.
no, is he wearing like a superhero costume? Is he like the Tick, but the gecko? Or is
No,
he-
he's wearing.
I think
he's
Donald
running away,
hired him
Stacey,
to
'cause he's
distract
wearing-
people.
He might have. He's wearing what do you call those shorts that are now out? We've decided
Cargo
this week?
shorts?
Yeah, he's on cargo shorts, so he has to run away in shame because he's wearing cargo shorts.
That's where you keep your suction cups.
Wait a minute. No one told me cargo shorts are out.
Did
They're
you
out.
not read the Wall Street
Did
Journal?
you not read this?
I just
Oh,
bought
yeah.
a bunch of them.
Well,
Leo, you know what?
that's
Leo,
why
you
they're
are
out.
probably
Leo.
not the height of fashion. I'm noting the baseball suspenders, and I'm thinking,
You noticed they're
That was-
baseball.
yes, they're lovely.
So,
But-
so Stacey, let me see if Leo and I are going to do an old man moment for a moment. So, in my childhood, that we don't do that all the time. I know, Stacey, but you're too nice to say that. In my childhood, Leo, I had a craven to go wear a Nehru jacket. Did you?
I might have actually owned a Nehru jacket. And
my parents
a Mao
wouldn't
jacket.
My parents wouldn't let me until Johnny Carson wore one.
Oh, then it was
they
okay.
said it was okay, and I said that's not why I don't want
No,
one.
I don't want one now. Yeah. I wore a cape.
No.
Yeah.
How do
Like
you have
as a
pictures?
child?
In high school. By the way, the only reason that this is in the Wall Street Journal is so that they could make the pun in the headline. Nice cargo shorts, you're sleeping on the sofa. Fans of the roomy summer staple meet pockets of resistance. Is there actual news in this story?
No, it's like the typical summertime. I think it was
Yeah.
a Friday
Yeah,
news
eight
story, right?
news.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
What?
like a New York Times.
Relationships around the country are being tested by cargo shorts, loosely cut shorts
Name
with
two.
large pockets sewn into the sides. Men who love them say they're comfortable and practical for the summer. Detractors say they've been out of style for years. It's true. I did wear cargo shorts to my son's father-son frat day, and he said, "You're not going to wear those, are you?" And I said, "That's all I have." And he said, "Oh." I know they're flat out ugly and uncool and bulky. Even if the Wall Street Journal says they're uncool. Man.
So what happened is she got such a response from this. She actually did a follow-up article. And so there's the article declaring them out, and then there was debate all over the world, apparently. And then a follow-up article, and
There's a Twitter meme.
yes.
Yes,
So
there was a data journalism piece on where they're bought.
Oh my God.
this ties back to journalism that is both clickbait and apparently servicey enough. I don't know.
Well,
if only
you tried
can...
too hard on that one, Stacey. Yeah.
we're in a
the queen of the segue.
We're in an unusual place because I think people are the real news is so aggravating and upsetting and emotionally charged that we kind of want to have light pieces. That's, I think, why Pokemon Go took off.
True. All right.
Facebook says we figured out how to get around ad blockers. As of yesterday, your ad blocker no longer works on Facebook.
Isn't it only on the website? Like if you're on the phone?
So now I think, yes, that desktop website, yes.
Yes. Okay. Because one of the reasons people love ad blockers on their phone is because, by God,
that's where you need one.
So much money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where you need one. It's slow and it bogs it down.
But that's where Facebook and Google AMP, dare I bring that up, are trying to speed that up so that the experience is not so god-awful.
It's kind of ironic because Facebook's ads, in my opinion, are not very intrusive. They're not bothersome in the same way that a lot of blogs are just so unreadable because of ads. Facebook, at least, you could just the ads on the side, you could kind of ignore it.
Well, you see them, you see the sponsored things in your stream as well, but they're...
Do you think, you know what, the stuff on the side does not work? I think the stuff in the stream does work. I noticed that I've bought things on Instagram because every 10th Instagram post is, if it's well done, as interesting as the real post that preceded it. And sometimes I actually end up saying, oh, I want that. I've done that a couple of times now. So they work, but banner ads I don't think work, right?
I'm gonna make my plug for Google Now's ads because those things are freaking amazing.
There are ads in Google Now?
So they're not exactly ads. They're based on stuff you searched for, and then they'll tell you if the price goes down. And then you get a notification or a card, basically, that pops up and is like, hey, you know that thing you were searching on 2 weeks ago? It's 33% off. And then you're like, oh, yes, click, buy.
Are those paid?
No. I'm kind of like, dang, that's a really interesting opportunity.
So it's all the downside of ads with none of the revenue.
I would say none of the downsides of ads.
None of the downsides.
With none of the revenue.
None of the revenue.
They should be monetizing the heck out of that.
You know what they call that? Content.
Yes, yes. Silly me.
You know, I should be using Now more. I'm just looking at it now. There's stories that I care about here, so I should be using it more. I don't think to use it.
Using what? Oh, Now. Oh, yeah. They've done a really good job now of surfacing stories that you're interested in.
Yeah.
And they surface your commute times if you ask them to. They tell you, they remind me of my trips. So it's telling me I've got 6 days till I go to San Francisco. A day before I go, it's going to give me the weather there. When I arrive, it pops up with all this data about tourist sites, which I don't need. And it ties into my Wink system. So when my door is unlocked at home, it's like, by the way, your door's unlocked.
Nice.
And I'm like,
wow.
Nice.
So, and I didn't do any of that. That's all Google.
Yeah, here's an Olympic medal count.
Oh, yeah, I killed all that stuff. I was like...
But it's nice because you have control. Actually, Google is trying other things. This one's really interesting because I let Google read my email. Don't forget this tomorrow. A recent email mentioned that you should remember you only have 1 day left to watch this screener, 0 days. It's about the Stuxnet flaw. I guess somebody sent me a screener. I didn't even know. I didn't see that email. So this is hugely valuable. This is hugely valuable. This surfaced something from my email I didn't even know about. Stuff I'm getting delivered, recaps of the Olympics, which I did not delete, stock updates, weather updates. And then here's the lots of news. Tesla opens flagship San Francisco store. They somehow know that I'm interested in Teslas.
Oh, mine knows that I'm interested in Kim Kardashian because I can't help clicking every time it shows me stuff. And I'm like, no!
That's the signal you're sending. But there's an example of, that's better because, right, instead of asking you whether you like puppies, it just notices you like puppies.
Although, if I feel better because I've got hydrogen molecule falls to quantum computer because I've shown interest in quantum computing. So those I don't feel as bad at. I also get every time the Cocktail Enthusiast updates their website, I get
and none of this you signed up for. It just happens.
None of it. It's just sends. Yeah. That's why I love this, and it also, I'm sure people. This is not new, but when I'm going to be late for an appointment or there's a traffic jam, it actually pings me and it's like, yo, you got to leave. Actually now. So, and Google Home. Sorry. What's so exciting about Google Home?
I love the excited Stacey.
And if it comes, their video shows Google Now interactions happening. Like it'll ping you. So that little cylinder will be like,
That's what I want. Yeah.
So Rye Christ, who is a CNET journalist, did a tweet like 2 days ago. And he was like, you know what should happen? The Echo could do that sort of notification with color on the top. So it could blink a color and be like, yo, something's happening. So now I want Google Now to build something for the Echo that turns the Echo colors. And I want Amazon to let that happen.
I used to have, this was 15 years ago maybe, it was a globe that glowed, and you could program it to glow different colors. Like if your stocks were up, it would be green, stocks were down, or red. Remember that?
If this, then that with Hue Lights does the same thing.
Same thing.
Well, there's a story in the rundown about if this and that is going to basically compete with Google and Amazon and
it totally is,
and Apple on trying to run the home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it already is really middleware that's huge, right? I mean, it's already in there. They own that space. There are others. There's Zapier, which I actually like. It's a little more business focused. But if this and that's making all the deals, right?
They are. They've got a business model. So you now have to pay to integrate with them, is my understanding. Not everybody. They've got back-end deals. But if you remember, there's a Twit Dude pin board. People loved it. Basically, if this and that was like, hey, here are the rules for continuing to work with us as we scale. And it required him to do all the work on his side. Right. And he was like, and then everybody was up in arms.
I was a little disappointed because I use Pinboard. I love Pinboard.
I do too.
And he basically it will no longer support, and he calls it my heroic and lazy stand against if this then that. This was last April.
But Lyndon said, so the CEO of IFT said, there's a family. Here come the dogs. They said that they worked it out. So I don't know what the deal was between them, but I'm giving my little shruggy.
Yeah. I don't think it was because he had to pay. It was just because he had to do the work, basically.
He had to do the work. I think some people do negotiate, is what my developer friends say. So I'm not sure what negotiations entail exactly.
He didn't want to do the work, and they would own the work that he did. And there's no guarantee. And the data. And there was no guarantee that they wouldn't change it again. So I kind of understand. At the same time, I kind of understand if this then that can't be expected to write interfaces for all the things that operates with, right?
Well, that was kind of the plan in the beginning. And we were all like, what? How are you going to scale that? That's crazy talk. And now it's kind of shifting as they've done the same thing everybody else does, right? You gain an audience, you gain people, and then suddenly the power shifts to your court, and then you make other people work with you as opposed to working with others. It's not nefarious. It's just how the world works.
I have a new model for this show.
Oh.
We put a whole bunch of stories in there, and you guys pick what you want to talk about.
You're the aggregator. We're the curator.
Why should I be the one telling you what to talk about? So let's take a break. When we come back, Stacy, pick a story that you want to talk about, and we'll do it. How about that?
Leo's being lazy.
AI or broadband?
Leo's not doing his job.
I'm getting lazy.
Like Stacy has opinions. All right, I'll ask this.
Lazy. You know what else I'm lazy with? Investments. I used to be like very ambitious, right? When I first started, when you're young, and you should be doing this, I hope you're doing this, you start saving for your future. You put aside money for the for college fund for your kids, or for old age for you, or maybe you put aside money for a house, a rainy day fund. And when I first started doing this, I was young and I was ambitious, and I read all the books, and I said, I am not going to hire a broker. I am going to learn how to do this, and I'm going to manage my own investments. And it really went well for the first, maybe a year. The problem is, it's really important if you do this that you constantly monitor and rebalance. And because, let's say the stock market does really well for a period of time, and now you're 90% of stocks instead of 70% in stocks, and that's not where you want to be. And so you got to kind of, frankly, it's like a garden. You don't tend it, you're going to have a lot of weeds. And I did not tend my garden. 10 years later, I went, Now, there's another way. You could go out, you could go down to Main Street, And there's a guy with a shingle out front. He's probably in a strip mall there. He says, I will help you. I will do this for you. I have learned the mysterious ways of the stock market. And for merely 1%, 2%, or even 3% of what you invest every year, I shall manage your money. First of all, that means you have to make 1%, 2%, or 3% more, which is not easy. And if this guy's so smart, what's he doing managing other people's money? It didn't work so well either. Then I found Wealthfront. Wealthfront is brilliant. Wealthfront is exactly what you're looking for. They manage your money not every month or every quarter. They don't rebalance every year. They manage it 24/7, every minute of every day, because it's computers. And because it's computers, they work cheap. Not 1% or 2% or 3% of what you have invested. 0.25%, 25 basis points with no commissions and no hidden fees. Wealthfront does it right. And if you're wondering, well, how does the software work? They've encapsulated the best brains in the business. Burton Malkiel, who wrote The Random Walk Down Wall Street. Charles D. Ellis, who wrote The Investor's Guide. I mean, these guys, they've got 200 years of investment experience. They've got the best thinking. They've got Nobel Prize winning technology, modern portfolio theory. They've adjusted the portfolios according to your risk tolerance and your time frame, but they stay diversified. Very important. They also stay tax efficient. They do things that your broker probably never heard of, like tax loss harvesting. They have all kinds of long-term investments. All kinds of long-term investment, including 529 college savings plans, which are kind of like Roth IRAs. They manage $3 billion now in client assets. They're growing rapidly every day because they really work. And now I'm not asking you to invest, although you can start for as little as $500. What I'd like you to do is go there and read up on it and take advantage of some of their free services. They will do a portfolio analysis for you, tell you how diversified your current portfolio is, how much you lose to fees. That'll be an eye-opener, I'm sorry to say. They'll also even generate a portfolio for you, the sample portfolio of how they would invest your money based on just a few questions. But they really do a great job of kind of figuring out what's right for you. You're going to love this. Once you do sign up for Wealthfront, you'll see every trade they make on your behalf in your dashboard right away. You don't have to call them. They won't call you. It's a computer. They don't like to talk. They're no chit-chat. Just good, solid management of your wealth. And even if you're not wealthy today, this is how you get wealthy in the long run. Visit wealthfront.com/twig to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. You'll see the customized allocation they recommend for your profile. And just for Twig listeners, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000 free of charge for life. Join the many Twig fans who've seen huge success with Wealthfront. Claim your offer today. Wealthfront.com/twig. You're watching This Week in Google with the wonderful Stacey Higginbotham. Stacey on IoT. She does a podcast on IoT with Kevin Toffel. She's in Austin, Texas, joining us from New York City, from Manhattan. It's Jeff Jarvis. From New Jersey. He's in Jersey. Everything's legal in Jersey. He is professor of journalism at CUNY down there on Times Square. And also the author of many great books, including Geeks Bearing Gifts, Public Parts, What Would Google Do, and Gutenberg the Geek. All right, Stacey, fire when ready. What's your story?
Okay. I'm really excited about two stories, so we'll see if I can get to both of them.
You will, I promise.
It's okay if I don't. Okay, first story. Intel bought a company this week called Nervana. I think it's Nervana Systems. That's Nerv, A-N-A.
Oh, nerve, like nervy.
Yeah, like not Kurt Cobain and Grunge Rock. Although that's good
no
too.
Flannel.
No flannel, to my knowledge. So this is a cool deal because Nervana is a company that is doing two things. It's making a cloud for machine learning, and it's also eventually going to make a specialized chip for machine learning. And so there's a couple cool things here. One is Intel has been kind of like nowhere when it comes to machine learning. And everyone's kind of like, wow, artificial intelligence, that's going to be the next big workload. Intel miss mobile? Is it about to miss machine learning? And the answer is maybe. So this looks like a way to kind of stave off some of that talk. It also brings more Qualcomm people into Intel's fold. Intel actually hired a guy named, his whole name is really epic. His name is Murthy. He was, I'm like, let's see if I can look it up and say it, because it's a beautiful name. So Murthy Renho. Oh, okay.
Now the thing to understand is it's just pronounced exactly as it's spelled.
It's a Southern Indian, really long last name.
Like Higginbotham's easy, you know.
Higginbotham is maybe, that's pronounced, I guess.
But to us, it is.
Yeah.
Dr. Venkata Rendakintala.
Very good. I bet that's perfect.
Anyway, so Murthy, who was at Qualcomm, he left. Intel paid him a lot of money to go, and it was during when Qualcomm was having all their kind of like executive turmoil with the board, or their board of directors being like, oh, no, it was an activist investor. So Murthy was like, I'm leaving, going to Intel. Nirvana was founded by a couple guys who used to be in Qualcomm's R&D division building a neural chip for them. And so these guys left Qualcomm because Qualcomm didn't really want to make it a functioning processor. And so they went over, formed Nirvana Systems, got some money from Steve Jurvetson and lovely other folks. And now it looks like TechCrunch has Intel paid $350 million for it. So woo on them. So that's kind of that. Other big thing to know, this last big thing, is they're using NVIDIA's GPUs right now. And big question is, will Intel actually accede to using other people's GPUs? I don't know.
What other ones could they use? I mean, AMD owns Radeon, owns the ATI technology.
Well, Intel tried way back in the day to build these chips called Larrabee that were going to be...
Oh, yeah, Larrabee, yeah.
Yeah, remember Larrabee?
I remember Larrabee.
So if you're building a machine learning chip, you've got to have two things that right now chips don't really have, which is massive parallel processing and really fast I/O, so the data can move really fast. Right now, chips are designed to kind of make a trade-off between one or the other. So GPUs are massively parallel, but their I/O isn't all that. You also have to think about energy efficiency. So that's like big picture what Intel needs to do. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. This is not like I'd look at this and I'm like, heck yeah, it's where they needed to go.
So Renda Chintala is there really about for Internet of Things, right? I mean, that's what his expertise was, small devices.
Small devices.
Yeah.
All the stuff that goes into that, because Intel was like, IoT, it's going to be big. We should really talk a lot about it.
So why would you connect this to buying a machine learning company? You think they want to put more intelligence in these IoT devices?
So I connected those two because Murthy was from Qualcomm.
Yep.
And
we may never know why she connected those two.
Oh, it's that moment. Do you sometimes wake up in a cold sweat thinking you're in a Skype?
No, I don't actually.
No, you don't.
Because I never freeze. I'm always here. I'm the one who doesn't freeze. I'm the one who doesn't freeze. I'm the one who knocks. We'll just call her back.
We're never going to find out what Murthy was doing. Yeah.
I'm a little tea.
How's the car?
Well, I just got a text message.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
From Lisa.
I do love that accent. Yeah.
With a picture, apparently, of the car screen. Here it is. She says, "This thing is a POS, and I'm not driving it anymore."
Oh no!
Touchscreen unresponsive. Press scroll wheels. She's had a lot of trouble with it. It's, you know what? I think I don't have as much trouble because I'm used to driving a computer. Driving a computer,
yes.
And it's kind of like a computer where it just, hey, touchscreens freeze. What are you going to do? As long as the steering wheel works. Stacy is back.
Sorry.
We were vamping Stacy.
No, that's okay. That was my that was Time Warner Cable.
Really? No. What did they do?
Nothing. It's because it's hot.
Oh, I hate that when the internet goes out because it's hot.
See, exactly. It's like the plot of The Stranger. So
it's so hot in here. Anyway, so you think, I'm sorry, why you got cut off at the most inopportune moment. You were going to explain why these two stories go together.
The linking the stuff in my brain?
Yeah. Between Nirvana Systems, which is artificial intelligence hardware, I guess, and Venkata Rendu Chintala, who is really about chips.
So Murthy came over from Qualcomm. The Nirvana
I'm just
guy,
teasing you by saying his name. I'm sorry. That's so mean. I cut my teeth on Siva Vaidyanathan, so...
Yeah. So what did Rendu Chintala have to say?
Oh, stop it. That's just mean.
I was simply making the point that he came from Qualcomm. The founders of Nirvana were also developer or engineers at Qualcomm building the chip.
I didn't know that. Okay. So it's a reunion.
Yeah, it's like Intel's pulling all these Qualcomm guys in, which could be good for them because they really need to ramp up with the Internet of Things and everything else.
Intel's big challenge, frankly, is that they missed mobile. And they were so dominant for so long in desktop, and now the end of the PC is nigh. And they haven't really figured out a way to transition.
As Stacy can speak best to, and I heard from somebody this weekend who works very closely with Intel, who said the whole strategy is to be in three quarters of IoT devices.
That's not going to happen.
Because ARM doesn't ARM really. So this actually does make sense because Qualcomm and that kind of knowledge gives them at least something they can do to compete with ARM. But what they will make, which would be unique, would be an artificial intelligence engine, basically.
Yeah,
right?
if you imagine what's going to happen, the way the world's going to go, you're going to have all these like low power end nodes, right? Sensors, tablets, whatever. And those are all going to be powered by ARM. Intel kind of has to give that up. They did have the Basis Peak is actually an ARM-powered watch, but they had that recall. So that's not going well.
Right.
So then all of that goes up into the cloud where like magical machine learning algorithms say, oh my gosh, this data, crunch, 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 means this. And then they shoot an insight down and then actions.
Could you do that again, please?
No.
You crunch the data again?
So that is my magical crunching data noise. So
I love it.
Intel's kind of given up on the end node piece for now.
Really?
Because, they don't. You have to be low power.
Yeah.
And they don't have that. So they're talking about security. They're looking at being in gateways.
Right.
So they have a wonderful chip that powers a lot of the gateways.
Yeah, but Broadcom owns that market.
The gateway market?
Yeah.
No, not the IoT gateway market.
Oh, IoT. Oh, you mean like smart things, the hubs.
Yeah. Well, in industrial IoT.
Those are ARM. Are they mostly ARM chips?
So inside the Smart Things hub is an ARM, I want to say it's an A9, Cortex A9. So it's a pretty powerful ARM chip. But I'm actually talking about in the industrial kind of business application.
Yeah.
Where you're going to send like hundreds of thousands of sensors are going to send their data into this computer.
Lots of transactions, yeah.
And it's going to crunch, crunch, crunch the data in that box. So you need a powerful Intel chip, and that's going to be plugged in. And then in the cloud, you're actually going to need, where Intel's doing great, the servers, that's lovely. It's got like 96% of that market. But where that's going to go is machine learning. And right now, they're like, Xeon is not a great chip for that. So they're going to go, they have to have machine learning, or else in like 5 or 6 years, instead of saying Intel missed mobile, we're going to be like, God, Intel missed mobile and machine learning. And then you can't make two mistakes.
Yeah.
Are you sleeping, Leo?
No, you've actually made me think, something I rarely do. And so I had to lean back, get some blood to the brain.
Can I bring up a related question? So at this Aspen thing where I was this weekend, it's under Chatham House rules, so you can't say who said what, which I hate because I want to give credit. But a very smart person there with a lot of experience talked about the civic Internet of Things separate from the medical Internet of Things, and seeing these ecosystems and who can control what. And the person was arguing that we in local news should be trying to have a major role in the civic Internet of Things and how that operates if we had any smarts. How do you see the ecosystem of IoT data breaking down?
Whoa, that's a really hard question because it's too broad. Can you get a little bit more specific? I can talk about like news, how news is using sensors. I can talk about architecture, like how people
I
are
have a
design
thought.
systems.
I have a kind of more meta thought.
Oh,
and I'm going to make a analogy to the computing that we've revolution that we've been through, where it started with discrete CPUs that weren't really talking to each other. You know, the PC, the personal computer, and the explosion didn't happen until they could communicate, and the rise of the internet, and that was the real digital computer explosion. That's really when it happened. It wasn't them as individual pieces. And IoT is very much in the same situation where, and currently we're in that early stage where I have a doorbell and I have a thermostat, I have colored lights, and you can cobble something together, but that's not ideal. That's the base station hub spoke model. What you'd really like is more of a mesh model where all of these things have enough intelligence, not much. You don't want to make these expensive chips, to communicate with each other and create an intelligent kind of.
Well, isn't that what Google tried to announce at I/O?
I think it is what they were trying to announce, and I think that that's exactly what this acquisition, or these two acquisitions are about, or the guy and this acquisition are about, which is how can we make each individual item smart enough to communicate with all the other individual. Stacey, you think we could go hub free, or do we have to have a hub?
For the home, we could go hub free, but if we do that, we risk losing everything when our internet goes out, which still happens.
No, that's the advantage setting? Because the home doesn't have to be connected to the outside world. They're talking to each other.
So I talked on my show last week about a light switch that runs Erlang because everything's going to be distributed compute code.
Wow.
I know. I'm sorry.
Who would put Erlang on a light switch?
A company called Plum. And the reason they're doing it is exactly that.
Smart.
They wanted that's their goal. So that is one model. We haven't come up with a way, like another model we have other models. We haven't picked one model for the home. And for the industrial, there's a lot of security stuff that people are worried about. So we're probably going to get a little bit of a mesh, but it's all going to be like not connected to the actual internet. It's going to go back to that gateway. And then it'll go back. All that data will go then to some cloud thing with the Intel stuff inside. Yeah. I did want to say, someone brought up in the chat room, Google's TPU, the TensorFlow, the Tensor Compute Units. Yeah, Tensor Compute Units, which is Google has developed a chip that they don't talk much about the architecture, which makes me so sad, that is running their machine learning cloud. And it's more efficient. And I imagine that is the sort of thing, well, it is the sort of thing that Nirvana Systems is doing right now. Is they've kind of customized the firmware on an NVIDIA GPU and run their own compute cloud, much like Google is doing. So if that helps.
So Leo, you just answered the inverse of the question I'm actually asking, which is not what's going to tie the devices together, but instead, where's the data exhaust of all these devices going to go? And how is that ecosystem going to work?
Well, there's two issues that have to be solved, in my opinion, in the IoT space. And Stacey, you're more of an expert, so correct me if I'm wrong. But security is one, and privacy is the other.
Right, but let's say you solve them. Then what I'm trying to get to here is that then there are classes of devices and data, right? There's health ones. There's all kinds of sensors in your body and things like that. There are public space ones, traffic and crowds and noise and things. There are transportation ones. How fast is something going? These become nodes in a larger IoT ecosystem, and nobody's going to control, I don't think, all that data and have the access to all that data. But some players are going to find the ways to pull together to say, Waze is going to try to say, we're going to get every darn street sensor there is. Maybe they aren't, but I'll just make it up. We're going to get all this other kinds of data. We're going to know which gas stations people go to because they're cheaper. We're going to know all this public stuff. Versus somebody else is going to say, we're going to do the best job of comparing you to your peers about your health. That kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to understand.
It is kind of similar to what's going on in the smartphones market right now, right? The Apple says, we're just going to keep everything on device. You keep it to yourself, but we'll have all those things talk to each other. Versus Google, which says, everything will go up to our cloud, and we'll give you insights based on all of the things we can
That's the question, where the insights and who gets the insights and who doesn't. Stacey?
So data is going to be a commodity because it's so cheap to add a sensor. So everyone originally thought that I'm going to be the sensor inside the car. But really, I can buy an OBD port monitor, shove that in, and I've got my own sensor versus my insurance company might put their own black box in and they get their own data. So the data is a commodity. The value will come from aggregating data and building really smart algorithms on top of it. So you'll see interesting things.
Right.
Like Apple with not HealthKit, CareKit, the medical device. So places like that are really interesting because you're going to get a lot of data that's really useful to different parties, and it's freely accessible. So I'm looking for someone like Google to say, hey, that's awesome. I'm not going to build my own because that's stupid. I'm just going to work with Apple on that. I don't know if that's actually going to break down. This is what people are fighting about all the time. But Jeff, because you asked, sort of, there is an IoT project that you should pay attention to. It's called How Hot Is It in Harlem? It's WNYC is doing it. They put sensors in Harlem in various different places, and they're measuring literally how hot it is because there's no green space there and all this. It's like a public works kind of thing. So check that out because there is a thing called sensor journalism, and some of the projects are really fun.
And John Keefe of WNYC is a real leader in doing this and getting people to build things for that. They also, when we had the cicadas come, NYC had people build sensors they put in the ground so they could predict where the cicadas were going to come out because it was all temperature based, which is all cool stuff. I'm fascinated what you said. I'm really fascinated with that idea that people thought, oh, if I can control the toaster data of America, that's going to be really valuable. But what you're saying, I find fascinating, is that no, the data is the commodity. The data is not going to be any big deal at all. How you pull it together and how you analyze it, how you act on it is going to matter. And who's best positioned. So I guess what this smart person at Aspen was saying, that there are going to be players who are positioned well in certain domains. And that he was arguing that local newspapers could try, even though we have absolutely zero skills at this, but could try to say, listen, we want to play in the civic Internet of Things. We want to be a trusted player between private parties and houses and local government. And what we've always done is gather information. So why don't we gather this information? And I was thinking about it just is there a business opportunity there or not?
Yes.
Whether we can do it or not is another question.
I think the Texas Tribune is actually working on some interesting things here around that. The Daily Dot has been looking at data and bringing it.
There are a lot of data journalists. I bet you even teach that a little bit at CUNY.
Oh, we do. Oh, we do indeed.
Yeah.
But if you pull in,
John Keefe of WNYC comes in and teaches. He's the guy with the Harlem thing. Yeah.
But again, the value is saying it'd be something like, I'm going to scan and have all of this information from City Hall on, let's go with pulling permits for, give me something that's sort of building permits. So building permits, the value that news organizations would bring is coming in, getting a reporter to say, these are the keywords that you should look for, that you would want to flag as notable, in building kind of that reference in the algorithm that would say, that would actually allow you to input data and then get something useful. So I could see a tool like I could put in some mogul's name and then find out all of their relationships based on Secretary of State data, right? That would be really hugely valuable. You could sell that and a newspaper could manage that, right? That I'm having a hard time thinking of cool citizen things like FOIA requests you could actually only make once. Maybe you could get the people who, like school districts and places, to actually agree to send their FOIA stuff to places, then you could act as a repository for those.
Well, here's another example. Here's an example. Foursquare did some really neat data work last week, which we don't have in the rundown. But they used their own data about who goes into what stores and the foot traffic, and said that Trump's campaign is hurting the traffic to Trump-branded businesses, right, which is really cool. Now, so Foursquare has that data because it's in your phone. Who else has that data? Well, obviously, the phone company has that data because they know exactly where you are on your phone. To an extent, on the road, not foot traffic, but car traffic, Waze and Google Maps have that data. Google has that data because they're tracking you. Tracking is an emotional word. They know where you are in other ways. In New York, we have these new obelisks going up with sensors in them that can probably just check on where there's more action by this storefront or that storefront or that front. So they'll have that data. It's really going to be valuable to stores to know how many people walked by, how many people stopped for 3 seconds and then kept going, that they weren't, drawn in, but they could have been. Where was this person before they came here? You can imagine a lot of that. That might be civic data to the extent that it could come from public place sensors, but it could also come from private devices.
And that's why I say data is a commodity, because all of those places can do it. And I can name companies that are doing all of that stuff.
Do you think, though, that given the awareness people have now, that this will all just kind of go ahead without intervention, or that people are going to say, whoa, hold on a second?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're already saying that about all the cameras everywhere, right?
Well, yes and no. Those cameras have been around for a very long time.
I read a story about Kansas City's connected Wi-Fi probably a month or two ago. Kansas City put in a Wi-Fi network and a new street train. Is that what they're called? Trolley? Something, streetcar. So they put this in, and I talked to the CIO of Kansas City, and he told me, and I quoted him, that they're taking the software they're using can see whose phone is walking down the street, and they give that to, I think it's called Pindrop, which is owned by Sprint, and they give all that data over to them. The city actually never sees this data.
Oh, terrible.
Right. So I was like, so if I'm walking down the street, what if a crime was committed? Could you get that? He's like, no, I'd have to subpoena the data from them. And I was like, whoa, so you get all this data and you just send it right over. And this is not uncommon. There's companies like Euclid. There's others that Peter Thiel put money into this Wi-Fi company, and I want to say it's Zenefits, but it's not. It starts with a Z. It's a San Francisco Wi-Fi company, and they're basically tracking you individually using your phone in the Wi-Fi address, Wi-Fi hotspots, that when it tries to ping a Wi-Fi hotspot, it's also leaking data about other Wi-Fi hotspots that you've been on. And so
all of this is actually happening kind of without our knowledge, without our cooperation. Often city governments release this information in ways they shouldn't to private business. Is there going to be a backlash, or do people just not care and just go, yeah, whatever, I don't care?
I wrote that story and I thought people would care.
They don't care.
They didn't care.
There is value. You and I know there's value, but even then, I think if there weren't value, they don't care. It's like, I got enough to worry about. I don't care.
The problem, Leo, is that this is an argument I made before, that we shouldn't control the generation or the gathering of data. What you have to control is the use of the data.
Right.
Because, so having cameras on the street.
So data is happen. Data is going to happen no matter what.
Right.
It is anyway.
It's where it goes.
Having cameras all over everywhere, right?
Yeah.
It would be bad if this was used to out, people having affairs, but it's good when it finds missing children. It's good when it finds the criminal who did something. It's bad if it just reveals people and violates their privacy. So the question, the data is not bad. The use of the data is the question. And I think if we get in a position where we risk getting into, especially in my European arguments, of saying that data is bad, that's saying knowledge is bad.
No, you want the data. Data can be really valuable, yeah.
But what you do with it is quite another matter. And yes, there needs to be regulation of that. I don't question that. But wise regulation that allows the good to also occur.
I have very little hope of any of that happening.
I think it'll happen, and we'll just have some really egregious violations first. And then we'll have
if we even know about them. I mean, if it weren't for whistleblowers, we wouldn't have known that the NSA was gathering all the phone traffic out of AT&T in San Francisco. We wouldn't have known that unless one guy came forward. We just happen to know about that. I can only imagine how many things we don't know about.
But let's also go to actual harm. The fact that for most people, I think this is Stacey's point, for the vast majority of people, there's no impact on their lives. It's that could happen, or I find that creepy, or I find it wrong.
Right, that's right.
Okay, but when it comes to this actually affected me, here's another one. So, whatchamacallit, Easy Pass. Do you have the same brand?
Yeah, well, we have Fast Track.
Like it's Fast Track, so those things.
Austin has
so
Easy
obviously
Pass,
the government knows exactly where you've been. And, they could send your husband or wife a map and a timetable of where
Right.
where your car has been all the time. Or Tesla could do that in your case.
Actually, I have an app on my Tesla. I know where my Tesla is at all times.
Right. So, in certain circumstances, you can imagine that being used badly. And so to maintain the trust and allow the system to operate, government has to
Let
be
me just tell
able
you,
to-
it's a lot harder to have an affair than it used to be. My wife has an app that shows where I am at every minute of the day.
It's in my case, Leo, it's harder just because I get older.
I thought it was less hard as you got older.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I'm
really? Did we
sorry.
go there?
Just hit me. Just hit me and hit me and
I
hit
might
me.
show up at the studio next week just to hit you.
Just to snack me and just say you are bad and wrong.
You took
I
it.
always go there. I always go there, Stacey. You'll
Nice.
learn this about me. I have a very bad habit of that.
I'll just be like, oh, really?
I always go for the bad, dirty joke.
There needs to be a little punching bag right next to you that when you say it, Stacey, hit it.
Oh, I could totally connect something for this.
Yeah, with that little electric buzzer in my seat.
The Pavlov.
Yeah.
The
That would help me a lot, actually, if you would do that. No, that's what I have Twitter for.
There you go. All right.
I talked to somebody this weekend too who is a fan of this show, listens to the show, who's an investor in ShotSpotter. I think we've talked about that.
What's that? I don't know that.
So ShotSpotter has microphones on rooftops of buildings. This is interesting because of privacy concerns. They don't put them street level for the fear that people could hear actual conversations. They put them on rooftops and it triangulates the sound of a gunshot.
Oh, yeah.
And sends the police to that. And he said there were all kinds of other great uses of this. For example, people who use dynamite to hunt for fish and destroy coral reefs so they can locate where that is.
It's not very sportsmanlike, is it, to dynamite fish?
No, it's not. That's the point.
Use case.
Also, speaking of sportsmanlike, poachers. So they did an experiment in, I think it was South Africa, with poachers. And so this idea.
Do police
of that little
use
data
this
point-
shot
Yes,
spotter?
they do.
Yes, they do. It's in
Yes.
Chicago, and I believe it's in Washington, D.C., or maybe it's Baltimore.
I think it's in parts of New York as well.
Oh, look, here's the map. It's everywhere. In fact, it looks like it's in Petaluma. What is that? What is that dot?
Wow, there's a lot there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
The salesperson must live there or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I doubt there's a whole lot of shots being fired up here. Wow. That's interesting. I go back and forth on this about just like we won't even know what benefits or interesting things can happen unless we just let it all happen. I hate that they say, well, we don't want to put it on ground level because we don't want people to worry, or we don't want to have face recognition and because then people will know, and well, let's just do it. What could possibly go wrong? I feel like we're missing out on some really interesting things we
are
could
too.
find out.
So
I think
South Korea, they've implemented some crazy stuff. Oh, we talked about this already. We talked about the property values going down. We talked about the affairs.
No, that was some other show you were on. Or maybe I wasn't
was?
here.
you were gone.
Oh, it was while I was gone?
Okay, yeah.
think
I was like, I remember this.
I missed it.
Yeah, you did. It was good.
Dang. I have to listen to that show.
Teach you for leaving us.
Big
There you
mistake.
go.
Big mistake. Although I wasn't here
Steve
last
Martin,
week.
us. Steve Martin, us.
By the way, great show. Go see it if you're in San Diego at the Old Globe. Very funny.
Plug it again.
Meteor shower. Very funny. And it'll be on Broadway. You'll get to see it. The actors apparently are already fighting over whether they get to go to Broadway or not. I dibs this.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Are you kidding? You get to go to Broadway with a show written by Steve Martin. It's like gold. It's like gold. You can't go wrong. All right, let's take a break. Come back with more. Lots of stuff. Okay, it's your turn, Jeff, to pick your story.
Oh.
Did we get both stories you wanted, Stacey, or just
Well, no,
one?
because actually the story I want is the other story Stacey wanted. I think.
Oh, well, that's perfect.
You need broadband?
Oh no.
All
Okay.
right.
That was
We'll do
okay.
Jeff, then it'll be your
You
turn
do Jeff.
again.
It was
Okay.
the.
We got plenty of time. Half an hour left.
Yeah, it is. Yes, Stacey, you're right. Kismet. Kismet struck us.
High
Yes.
fives.
You're gonna have to do it over my head. Wait a minute. I'll just duck. Wait a minute. Just get.
Wait, I don't know which side I'm. Oh, I'm
Other way,
on.
that's the problem. I gotta go the other way. It's so confusing for me. I can't. I have no space.
You
for
just
religion.
boxed my ears.
That's what she wanted to do.
That was good. That was team boxing. Our show today brought to you by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. You know Quicken Loans. They're the best. Everybody knows Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans has decided that they need to do a product for you and me, the digital literate, the people who want to do it all online, the people who don't want to go through boxes of papers, bring in stacks to your mortgage broker, fax documents back and forth. Actually, you use pens to sign things. Rocket Mortgage is so much better. You can do it all online, and you don't even have to sit at your desk. You can do it on your tablet or your phone from the convenience of your couch. It brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. That's why they call it Rocket Mortgage. It's fast, it's easy, it's completely online. They've taken all the time-consuming parts out of applying for a mortgage. They've taken them out of the equation. You don't have to. You could actually share bank statements and pay stubs with a touch of a button. And I love this because it's all digital. You get approved faster in minutes for a custom solution tailored to your unique financial situation because computers. Even better, you don't have to get up from the couch.
You know how there's that because thing that happens all over the internet?
Because computers.
That's
I love
the perfect twit meme.
Yeah, I love that. Rocket Mortgage. Hey, find out more at quickenloans.com/twig. Quickenloans.com/twig. Whether you're refining or buying a new house, this is the way to do it. This is the 21st century way to do it. They're great. Quickenloans.com/twig. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS consumeraccess.org, number 3030. We thank Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans for their support of This Week in Google. I love actually having products that are aimed at the digital literati, the people who understand technology, who love it and embrace it. I love that kind of advertiser. And actually, I think it's all of our advertisers. They're all kind of changing the world thanks to digital technology.
Your advertisers have to hit a certain mark. Or they do.
They do. Although I think we've got an underwear sponsor coming.
Well, we use that too.
We got to use those too. Yep. All right, Jeff, your turn. Story of the week.
Stacey's story. It was. I wanted to hear what she has to say about this too. It pisses me off. What did I just do? Oops.
No, you look good.
No, I just turned on something there. I got USA Today. Damn you! Puts on autoplay.
Oh, no autoplay. CNET's doing that too now, where video starts, noise starts. Is it Bloomberg that's doing this too? Drives me nuts.
Bloomberg does it. CNBC does it. They all do it, and it just drives me nuts. Luckily, I could only hear it, but it was driving me nuts. Speaking of being driven nuts, I'm very, very disappointed to see that the FCC lost its effort to enable states and localities to build municipal broadband. And in fact, now states win the right in collusion and corruption.
Yeah, states didn't win the right. Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T won the right. And it all started with Philadelphia doing municipal Wi-Fi in Comcast's backyard, and the big internet service providers went with bags of money to the state legislature, and then they realized, oh, this is a good strategy, and they went to 40 different state legislatures, have now passed laws against municipal Wi-Fi. Shocking. The rationale is, well, you're competing against private enterprise. You know.
Well, that's not what the laws say. The laws are like.
Well, what's the rationale in the law then?
Oh no, sorry. The legal rationale is things like they have to make certain amounts of money. Oh. They have to.
People play Pokemon Go.
No, they're things like. Oh man, I used to write about this. They have to. Okay, getting my brain back in order here.
It's the heat. It's the heat.
It's the heat. It's the
it's
the margaritas last night.
The heat and the margaritas. That's a deadly combination. Well, we're having a party for the staff tomorrow at our house, and I'm trying to decide what mixed drink to ply them with. I'm thinking daiquiris. I'm going with a rum.
Ooh, that's so dainty.
Sick.
Dainty?
Dainty. Really? Daiquiris are dainty. Oh yeah, I remember my parents. That was a '60s drink.
Yeah, that's why I wanted. You know what? The Washington Post got me started with this because they did a whole thing on Havana Club, which was Castro's actually before Castro, Hemingway's favorite rum, made in Cuba, and then of course when Castro came into power, the family fled. They live in Florida, and they decided to stop making rum. So the Bacardi family, which had also fled Cuba, said, "All right, we'll make Havana Club." Well, now. Castro is making Havana Club in Cuba, and now that Cuba's open, there are going to be 2 competing Havana clubs. And so I'm reading this great story, which is fascinating. And then the Washington Post does the right thing. They have a panel of rum tasters taste the two and some other great rums. And that guy, and they talked about daiquiris, which Hemingway has a daiquiri that he invented. Doesn't have any sugar in it, just maraschino liqueur, grapefruit juice, and lime juice. There you go, the rum war. Anyway,
So
back to Stacey. I was just giving a little time.
No, I was like,
I was filling for you.
And I enjoyed the cocktail restaurant. I was like,
Yeah, and I went online and I went. There's a rumtasting.com or something, and I ordered the top. There's one rum that's $30 that everybody says this is the best deal in spirits. It's the best rum for nothing. And then I thought, well, I'm going to try one like $100 bottle, and we'll see. We'll compare. So maybe mojitos, but I think there's too much muddling involved. The nice thing about daiquiris, you can squeeze the limes ahead of time.
Were you considering margaritas too, or that's dangerous?
Lisa loves margaritas, but as you know,
it should be a controlled substance.
Margaritas, tequila makes your clothes fall off.
Yeah.
And this is a work event, so.
Yeah, don't do that to your staff. Don't do that to you. Okay, so muni broadband laws. So a lot of these laws are things like they have to give the telecom operator a chance to build a similar network. So that's one way to get around it. Another one is to require different voter referendums, which can be hard to do. And then, so it costs money to do the referendum, and then the ISPs oftentimes will pull out massive amounts of money. It's like Uber did in Austin. So to get that done.
Yeah, because nobody would vote against free municipal Wi-Fi. That's like God and country. That's like apple pie. Why wouldn't you want that?
Well, that was also a long time ago. Before people, people were like, Wi-Fi, what? I think I saw an Intel commercial about that. They were not watching your show. And then the final law is laws that really suck and they're written poorly. And they're just so you can challenge them in court and make it just like you don't even want to bother doing Muni Network because you're going to get just an ISP is going to come after you.
Yeah. So they figured it. Basically, they've rigged it.
Yes, it's very highly rigged. 21 states have these.
Oh, I thought it was more than that. It's only 21? Okay. I thought it was 40. I had read 40, but that might be old.
Maybe it's 21 with certain types of restrictions.
Oh, okay.
Texas has one that says no municipal agency can have its own wireless network, which screwed our ISP up. Not our ISP, I'm sorry, our utility up when it wanted to do some smart grid stuff. Huh. So these aren't just muni broadband. As more things become broadband enabled, they can actually, you can get into these like
run afoul
debates.
Of the law.
Yeah. What is the network? What is a server?
But so I guess, you could make the only case you could make is the kind of traditional conservative capitalist case, which is, well, you're competing against private enterprise, and wouldn't it be better if private enterprise did it? Which would be fine if private enterprise did it, but a private enterprise doesn't, and they don't do it, right? For the most part, private enterprise says there's no money in that. I'm not going to do free public Wi-Fi, and so they don't.
If you go the full libertarian Monty with a double twist, you say the same thing about private roads and public roads,
right?
So is this the road of the future? We've had that argument.
Just come to Texas and you will see that in action. It's terrible.
Yeah, they have private roads, don't you? Yeah.
We have private roads. We have things the government refuses to serve. It's special.
I really feel like I am a big supporter of the idea of, and I should give credit to, I think it's Bob Frankston, one of the guys who created VisiCalc, who's been lobbying all over the country for municipal Wi-Fi, but or municipal internet, not municipal Wi-Fi, not free Wi-Fi. But the town, and maybe even using eminent domain to take over existing wiring, but the town should own the internet infrastructure in that town. And then the town should invite private companies to provide over-the-top internet services.
Isn't that the way power operates now in many places, like here in New Jersey?
It's how power operates.
And how BT operates
utility.
In the UK, right?
The Wi-Fi is a utility, but we add the competitive layer. So, and you want the competition. You don't want just one incumbent providing internet access. That's too dangerous. So infrastructure is provided and maintained by the city, who then leases it out to private enterprise, and anybody can play. And then you have people like SonicNet and Comcast and AT&T all competing for our custom. I think that's a great system.
Isn't that the way it works in the UK?
Why is that not going to work, Stacey?
It sort of works that way in the UK. It's a little different. The Netherlands actually has a wonderful. Amsterdam has this,
and they have much better. And they have much better internet than we do.
They do. The city owns the conduit, and then people
Yes.
run their own wires through
that's
it. But
interesting.
Seattle actually owns its own broadband, like its own dark fiber. And even then, they were going to do a network with it, a gigabit network. The mayor that pushed that really hard actually didn't get reelected. Instead, someone who Comcast and others helped fund his opponent. So another thing that we're kind of forgetting about is the limited time frame of a lot of the elected officials.
Right.
But the big macro thing is when we decided on the 1996 Telecom Act, we decided we were going to have facilities-based competition, which is cable companies versus the DSL telecom. And when we decided that, we basically said they're going to own the infrastructure and be able to do what they want.
And get a monopoly, a regional monopoly as a result.
I'm surprised there hasn't been a proposition or referendum in California. Because that's the one place in the country where the citizens could say, no, we are going to use our voting power to
what? To take their fiber? I mean, that's
to reach to enable a local government to do so. And the telcos would lobby like crazy, but you could imagine, especially in Silicon Valley, where there'd be money to counteract that. Google would counteract that.
I'm looking at this decision, and it's kind of complicated. So the FCC wanted to preempt those laws that would prevent municipal internet in Tennessee and North Carolina. The federal appeals court says the FCC lacks the legal authority to do so. That's often, by the way, the way courts stop FCC mandates, because the FCC can only do what Congress says it can do. But this is what's weird. This comes from the decision. The FCC order essentially serves to reallocate decision-making power between the states and their municipalities. Judge John Rogers says the FCC is attempting to reverse the pecking order. Counties and cities must follow state law, contends the court, and if that state law forbids local governments from building networks or selling access, then the FCC has no business to say otherwise.
Right. So this is basically saying the state law trumps the federal laws in this case.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of people would say that's the way it should go. I mean, if this weren't about muni broadband, and
actually the state laws trump the city laws. The county
state laws trump county laws.
Right.
And the FCC can't dictate any of it.
Right. FCC's federal, has nothing to do with it. And you can't upset that pecking order.
That apple cart.
Yeah. And that's a purely legal decision. And I'm wondering if maybe there's a way to figure this out.
I bet there is. I can talk to people and tell you next show.
Well, it's something I have a great interest in, because I really think that this should be fixed. Chattanooga is the classic case where Chattanooga's utility.
That's who started part of this. Is they wanted to. A couple cities near Chattanooga were like, "Yo, can we get some of your broadband?" And they were like, "Yeah, I guess so, but we got a law in your way." And then that's how this all came around.
Chattanooga schools and students in formerly underserved areas have also benefited from the broadband service. EPB is the power utility in Chattanooga. Initially, notes the judge, by introducing EPB to the marketplace, it's resulted in lower rates and improved service from existing providers in the area. Competition is good. And counter to claims made by opponents of municipal broadband who say it's always a money-losing venture, the court points out that Chattanooga has also put more, that EPB has put more money into Chattanooga's coffers, which and as a result, their bonds were upgraded to AA+ in 2012.
Ooh.
So it's a good thing. It's a good thing for everybody. Who doesn't win except maybe Comcast.
It can be money losing for the city it depends on how you think about it.
It's an
economic development.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an investment. It's also more efficient for the city if they can manage the stuff on their own. But again, that's one of those like highly nuanced, subtle things that when you're voting or trying to explain it to like the average citizen, they're kind of like,
oh yeah.
Fixing the roads is also times a money sink for municipal governments, but they need to do it. It's their job. It's why we pay taxes.
Well, and if you're going to, both Clinton and Trump are arguing for major spending on infrastructure. Believe it or not, Trump is too, even more than Clinton is. And it's one matter to build some bridges and some roads. We need that. But to me, if you truly built out world-class, best-of-class broadband networks and enabled commerce to occur on top of them, business as a whole would benefit. And it could even reduce the cost. I mean, the problem is the cable companies want to hold a stranglehold on it. But in the long run, it would reduce their capital cost. But ain't going to happen.
So this is a blow to Chattanooga and North Carolina, but...
but there's good news on the broadband front.
Yes.
Google in I always get my San's confused. Is it San Francisco or San Jose that they're doing a fiber network?
It's like I get
Jose,
Austin
probably.
and San Antonio confused too. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay, that was
That's
kind of
cold.
hurtful.
I always
There it
confuse
is.
Brooklyn and the
Jose.
Bronx. So there.
Okay. There we go. I confused my left from my right too. So this is kind of interesting because there's kind of some new technologies and Google Fiber is one of these, like, this is why cable is actually getting so much faster, and Comcast is telling people it's going to be, super fast by 2017, that everybody should have like a gigabit, I think it is.
Wow.
Don't quote me there. But Comcast is making some crazy predictions, and it's because Google Fiber started coming in and pushing them. So this market does need competition, but we may not have to dig fiber anymore. We might be able to do this via kind of microwave and gigahertz wireless, like point-to-point gigahertz wireless that doesn't have to be point-to-point anymore because of phased array antennas, so new antenna technology. If this happens, it reduces the capital cost of putting fiber in, and we could have gigabit connections like tomorrow. So that's exciting. Sorry.
I like it.
That was a random segue, but I was going to make it.
All right, now we get to kind of like the little nitty-gritty stories, like new features. For instance, Chrome, according to the Google blog, the official Google blog, is starting to deprecate Flash. Going forward, they write, Chrome will de-emphasize Flash in favor of HTML5. I didn't know this.
Not kill it.
Not kill it, but boy, get close. 90% of Flash on the web, according to the blog, loads behind the scenes to support things like page analytics. I did not know that. This kind of Flash slows you down, and starting in September, Chrome 53 will begin to block it. Block it. That's behind the scenes Flash. In December, Chrome 55 will make HTML5 the default experience except for sites that only support Flash. For those, you'll be prompted to enable Flash. It won't just run. Remember those videos you didn't like, Jeff? They won't just run. You will be prompted to turn on Flash first. Aside from that, the only change you'll notice, besides that, the only thing you'll notice is safer, more powerful, efficient browsing experience. Flash does suck battery. It slows it down. It's a privacy problem and a security problem as well. So good, I guess good news. Now people are going to then say, but Leo, you only use Flash on your website to play Mac video. Well, it's not. I wish we didn't. I wish we didn't have to. We do pay for one server, Flowsoft, that does an HLS stream, a non-Flash stream, and that's for iOS and iPad. But Ustream and BitGravity, we have a number of providers on our pages, and you can switch between them, are still Flash-based. I think that this will hasten, though, their move to HTML5. And as they go, so go we. We're dependent on them because we don't do our own stream. We can't afford to. So we use those great people at Ustream. They have some HTTP streaming. I'm not sure why they don't. I don't know exactly how it works. But we'll get there. And this helps, in my opinion. So good thing. Do you want to talk about, I don't want to talk about it. Emails. Inbox. We can talk about Inbox. There, thank you. You saved me.
Inbox. This is neat.
I was going to talk about the Clinton emails and the close relationship.
No, please
okay.
don't.
No politics. Please.
It's not politics. Google's involved.
Okay.
Nah, I don't want to talk about it.
But Inbox, I'd love to hear
Inbox.
your opinions because I hate Inbox. So
I love Inbox. I don't think Jeff likes it either.
No.
You can't use it.
I'm a convert.
Yeah.
I'm a convert now.
Oh, really?
I'm fully. Yeah. It. Once I got over, it's like switching from a stick shift to an automatic. You feel like you're out of control for a while, but it turns out you're not.
I tried it for like 6 months, and I just finally was like, no more.
Well,
I liked some features, but I like the automatic replies.
Yeah, I
whatever
love
they call
that. That's a
Love
good reason
that.
to use
Now,
Inbox.
Pine.
I use Mutt.
Yeah.
It's like Pine, only even more geeky. No, but they're adding Trello and GitHub integration. So that means that when you get this is why eventually you're going to just kind of want Inbox, because as they scan your emails, they can do Google Now-y kind of things.
Stacy,
you're going to want this.
Imagine how.
Yeah.
I didn't
Google
like
Now.
that. This feels very dev focused too.
Well, it is. Trello is a project manager. GitHub is a code versioning system. So neither of these will you probably use, but you might like having. Do you ever use Google Alerts to scan for your name? Wouldn't it be nice if Google Alerts?
So they do, and they pull your shipping data and all your packages in together.
That, right?
And I mean, I know what it does. I didn't like it for.
You didn't like the categorization.
I didn't like the categorization. I didn't like trying to find things and get to things just by looking at my phone. When I would pull up my phone, I want actually to see the most recent news items because of my job. And instead I would see like this clustering of things, and they would pop back up to the top, and I don't know. But I suck at email. I've got like 36,000 unread
Everybody
messages.
sucks at email.
So
email sucks. It's not you that sucks. It's email that sucks. If you use Google Drive, you can insert Drive links into emails, check and fix permissions for those links, and save email attachments to Drive. Drag and drop contacts between to CC and BCC and Compose on web. Delete right from the inbox just as easily as you can mark done. I think they're going to get this is the new Gmail is inbox.
It's also the new Google. This goes back to what I've said on the show for years. Marissa Mayer talked about the hyper-personal news stream. You tie Inbox to Google Now, Stacy's beloved Google Now, and amazing things can happen.
By the way, that's a bingo card. Hyper-personal news stream. You can all have a drink. Yep.
Gutenberg.
Oh, 2 drinks. Oh.
How many for the book show? The book reveal. There were 2 of those.
Oh, she got back at me for the Texas crack.
Dun, dun,
dun. Let's see what else. Self-driving car unit losing 3 key execs at Google.
Yeah, so what does this mean?
That's a good question. I mean, I think Apple's self-driving car initiative is also kind of struggling a little bit. I think sometimes people just get tired of it. Chris Urmson, who is the CTO and technical lead, has been there for 7 years. What's interesting is he doesn't have another job. I don't know. Maybe he made enough money and he has kids. He just wants to take some time. I don't know. And then also Jia Junju, which is a great name, by the way, Jia Junju, the team's, it sounds like something wrong with me. Jia Junju, the team's principal software engineer, is founded his own startup. I think this is all kind of normal. I
think so too. I think people are making a big deal out of it.
This is such a long-term venture. I mean, when you hear that he's been there for 7 years already, it's just...
So what I didn't know, I was with the head of Consumer Reports and also Craig Newmark this weekend, who's on the board of Consumer Reports, and I didn't know that Consumer Reports had gone after
Tesla.
Musk.
Yeah, they said they shouldn't call it autopilot. Yeah.
Right. Because it's not really that. And she said that all the it was fascinating, is all the fanatics from Tesla out in the field, argued with him. And then Musk said at first no, and then he thought about it a little bit and said, no, in fact, you're right.
I think that's a smart call, because it's driver assist. And that sets up different expectations. And people
you saw the story of the guy who's maybe it saved his life after we had the fatality.
That's such BS. I think Elon planted that story. It said that Tesla drove him to the emergency room.
No. It drove him to the exit. He had to take over then. Couldn't go all the way. But he just decided that.
But you understand that the nav system on a Tesla is not in any way connected to the autopilot, right?
Right.
So it didn't drive him anywhere. It just kept him from...
He just stopped having to drive.
Plowing into something.
Yes.
And he, at some point, had to sit up and go, oh, there's the exit to the emergency room, and drive himself the rest of the way.
If he didn't have that aid, if he had to drive the whole way, he couldn't have done it. He would have had to stop and get an ambulance. It would have taken too long. He would have conked.
Right.
So the argument is that this got him closer to the hospital.
I think it sounds like an attempt to counter
Yes, I think so.
all the negative publicity myself.
Like my mom, she actually had like crazy thing happened to her that caused internal bleeding. She passed out, ran her car into a guardrail. She survived.
That wouldn't have happened with a Tesla.
But with the Tesla,
Yep.
that wouldn't have happened.
If she had autopilot, auto steer.
Right.
But what I
There is
wonder
a lot
is,
of
Stacey, so if God forbid your mom had lost consciousness, would the Tesla just have kept? Would it have just kept going?
Yes.
At some
Right?
point in time, it stops. Doesn't it stop?
Well,
when
if she loses consciousness and her hands aren't in the wheel,
and
eventually it will slow down and stop, or it first alerts you, and I think also if the road gets more curvy, it alerts you. I've gone long distances without it telling me to put my hands on the wheel, so I don't know.
they say it's supposed to, but yeah, I've heard from people who are like,
Doesn't seem.
happened to me.
You don't have autopilot in yours, right?
I don't.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I pass out a lot, so it could be handy.
I think those are called the vapors. You just.
I'm a swooner.
I swoon. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really oversold. It's a very good cruise control. It has some lane. It has some steering capability, and it has. This is probably the weirdest one. It has auto lane change. It is not by any sense of the word autonomous, and I think that Consumer Reports is right. And Elon was incensed about what they said, but I think they're right. I think calling it autopilot is a marketing term, and it's really designed to make you think you have a self-driving car. And so naturally, there are going to be some buffoons who will get in the back seat or take a nap or watch a movie.
Harry Potter.
Terrible idea. It's not. It's just more assist. And by the way, computers crash. My wife, I showed you the picture. My wife sent me. She says, she really doesn't like the Tesla. It makes her nervous, all the computerization. And the touchscreen crashed while she's driving. And it says, press and hold the selection wheel until it reboots. She said, I pressed it a really long time. You don't need the touchscreen. It's not critical. It's not a critical system. But it doesn't inspire confidence when you're driving what is essentially a high-powered go-kart with a big computer running it. Yes. And if the computer isn't reliable,
there's several computers. So think about it that way. It's not just one computer. It's a bunch of computers.
Like it says, doesn't bother me.
All of which
love my Tesla. I love it.
Some of them are more hardened than others, though, Jeff.
Yeah. And if I have to go down driving, I'd like to go down driving in my Tesla. That's all I'm saying. I enjoy the Tesla.
You know what I need it for, Leo?
What?
I need to do autopilot going across the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, then you could close your eyes.
Yeah.
It actually.
So the thought of it right now, the thought of that scares me, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
I use it all the time. I use it all the time. I love it. The autopilot. Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. It's just good. Think of it as really good cruise control. That's all. That slows down and keeps a distance between you and the car in front of you. That's good. Mm-hmm. I like that.
And a lot of other cars offer stuff like that.
My Audi did that.
Yeah. Although I had a friend who was test driving my Tesla and he started running it towards a brick wall, and I was like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Oh, he's testing the emergency stop.
And I was like, he's like, "Oh, it doesn't stop like my Audi?" And I was like, No, it doesn't.
Don't find out the hard way.
My Audi, it actually scares the hell out of you because it jams the brakes on. The Tesla does the same thing, by the way, even with autopilot not turned on. Maybe yours doesn't, but mine does. But it will only slow you down to 25 miles an hour. It will not stop you. The idea being they don't want to come to a full stop in the highway if that's a mistake. Okay. So it slows down to 25 miles an hour, and they presume that you noticed that it jammed the brakes on and are now taking over.
You got rear-ended, however.
Right. Google Maps for Android, getting some nice new features, a Wi-Fi only mode. This is good if you travel and you're worried about using data, and SD card download options, so you can download the maps for offline use on your SD card. That's nice. Some nice new features.
Mm-hmm.
I like Maps, and Maps is great for travel. This is really mostly for entry-level smartphones that don't have a lot of storage, and for people who have to pay extra for their data. Let's see, Facebook we talked about. You can now email the White House over Facebook Messenger.
Well,
Sorry,
I called
if
it.
you're using Eve for Tesla, they now have an if this then that channel.
I
just
need
so
to
you know.
use Eve. Everybody tells me I should use Eve. Do you use Eve?
I've used it before. It was really slow, but
Oh.
they assure me it's gotten faster.
It's
So
supposed to. It gives you like Android notifications and
it connects your house to your Tesla.
yeah.
If you have a Wink
I
Hub.
don't really want to do that.
So okay, sorry.
Do
Facebook
you?
Messenger.
Do you? You
What?
you don't want to do that either, right? You kind of. I think this is all risky. They should pay attention to what you're doing on the road.
Well, so the connecting your house is things that you can automate. So like you can set up a recipe that says, yo, when my Tesla comes in, open the door. The Tesla already does that. You can say unlock a door.
Right. I do love it that when I drive up, my garage door opens, and when I back out, it closes behind me. I really like
So
that.
I've got a steep driveway, so it opens like this much, and then it's like the Wi-Fi signal or the signal is disrupted, and then it's like
That's kind of annoying.
it's
Actually,
super annoying.
Yeah.
Like,
So you turn that off, right?
sometimes it works. So I haven't turned it off. I just laugh.
I think that's probably why Lisa is less enamored of the Tesla than I am. I'm used to technology not working very well, having issues, and I don't mind because the value it adds and the coolness is worth it, right?
Is part of this because you also have an early off the line X?
No, it's not that
It's
early.
just Tesla.
That's his doors won't open. That's that issue.
Yeah. That's another issue. They fixed that.
Yeah, I don't know. My husband loves the Tesla though, and he hates like 90% of the gadgets I have in my house. So,
But you love the Tesla too, right?
I do. I
Yeah.
love it.
I think we're
I just like
geeks.
it drives. It's so nice.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Google
Back-
used virtual poker dogs.
Explain this one to me.
I don't even
Yeah,
know.
what-
To
didn't
find a
know
way to stop VR trolls. Okay.
I didn't know there were VR trolls.
Are those the people who run up to you and like show you gross things that you can't?
Yeah, they're
unsee?
griefers.
Ugh. Yeah. Okay.
Online harassment is nothing new, but when it comes to VR environments, users can get extremely close to one another, and that can lead to uncomfortable infringement of space and a bad experience that drives people away from VR. This is Ashley Carman writing in The Verge. Google's experimenting. So here we are in a virtual world. Apparently, we're dogs playing poker, you and me. Oh, that was it. Google's Daydream Labs, that's their VR initiative, is experimenting with ways to combat abuse in VR. One successful test involved the creation of virtual poker dogs, demonstrating that one way to deter users from harassing fellow players is by creating personal space. When players left the poker table in Google's experiment, their screens turned to black and white and their avatars disappeared from their opponent's view. A glowing personal space bubble then guided them back to their seat.
This is so not my world.
I don't even know. You know what? I have all this stuff, and I still not my world. Okay, let's see if we can see. They're playing now. They're playing poker, waiting for your opponent, and soon he's going to leave the table, and a glowing personal. Oh, nope. Yeah. Oh. Glowing. I'm done here. I'm done. See, I'm out of here. Glowing personal space bubble, and he can't see me because all he sees is a glowing personal space bubble. Okay, you're right. Welcome to the future, Jeff. This is what's coming. Stand back.
And these moments make me feel like an old fart. That and Snapchat.
Quad router. We should talk about this, I guess. This is a flaw that infects Android phones. You probably heard him talk about it yesterday on All About Android. Almost 1 billion Android phones are infected, are affected, not infected. There are 4 exploits. 3 out of the 4 have been patched. The 4th won't get a patch until the security fix next month. Quad router is what it's called. It was discovered by the security firm Checkpoint. They showed it off at DEF CON on Sunday. Of course, the attacker would have to talk you into or trick you into installing a malicious app. The good news, and this you should really remember, you probably have it turned on. It's on by default. Your Android device, and most Android devices will scan, Google will scan apps before you install them. That scan will detect Quad router, Google says. So as long as you have that scan turned on, you're not going to have to worry. And you should probably not, at least until this is fixed next month, download apps from third-party sites. the attacker would get full access to your device, including its camera, its microphone, and all the data. And when, by the way, the new BlackBerry, the DTEK 50, the company calls it the most secure Android phone. Yeah, it's vulnerable. Oh, well. It's hard for Google because they would love to push this Android update. It's why at this point I would not recommend getting an Android phone if the company that the phone makes a phone doesn't commit to accepting the monthly security updates. And by the way, so far, the two smartphones I really like that are $400, the OnePlus 3 and the ZTE Axon, have not said that they are going to do that. So Samsung says they will, LG says they will. And of course, if you buy a Nexus phone, that's a guarantee. In fact, I'm starting to wonder if we shouldn't just say, if you're going to use Android, use Nexus.
That's what I tell
except if you want to use, the
latest
camera.
Yeah.
I love that this operates with a Samsung phone.
I did order the new Nexus 7. The Note.
No, Nexus. I wish
Galaxy
then
Note
give me
7.
one too.
And I wish that they would just offer, as they did once, the Google Experience ROM for the Galaxy Note 7, and then that's what I would do because I want the hardware. Yep. DisplayMate just today said it's the best screen ever made on a smartphone, the Note 7. Best screen ever. It's a Super AMOLED screen, gorgeous, 518 dots per inch. I will get mine in about 9 days, so I'll give you a review in 2 weeks. Now we'll wrap up with this one because I want you to explain. Somebody will explain. Remember that the FCC has proposed that cable companies allow you to use a third-party set-top box. In fact, you don't even need a cable card. So these set-top boxes that are rented to you by the cable companies in most cases are terrible. I actually bought a TiVo and put a cable card in it. It's my set-top box. It's so much better than Comcast's really terrible X1 system. The FCC wants to make a rule change that would require cable companies to allow that kind of thing. It will cost cable providers $21 billion a year in rental fees, which, by the way, too bad you're gouging us.
Exactly like Bob Bell. I'm renting you the phone, which was a horrible ripoff for years and years and years.
And some people will still use their existing cable box because
it'll become the AOL of
most people
future,
will.
Yeah.
Because most people use their modems. I mean, they charge a modem.
Take what they get.
Yeah. They're like, okay.
By far. So the copyright. So this is the FCC's proposed rule. Now the Copyright Office weighs in and they say, this is an attack on copyright. We are not for this. This is Mike Masnick writing in Tech Dirt. And by the way, highly recommend you read Tech Dirt. Mike's super smart.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's got Carl working for him too.
Yeah.
Working with him on occasion.
And he says the Copyright Office is lying. Lying.
There's also a very good post on Public Knowledge's blog with a list of all the ways the Copyright Office has failed us.
Yeah.
Endorsing SOPA. I won't go into the whole detail, but this is just one more in that string.
The Copyright Office writes, the office's principal reservation is that as currently proposed, the rule could interfere with copyright owners' rights to license their works as provided by copyright law. In other words, make it easier for pirates, and restrict their ability to impose reasonable conditions on the use of these works through the private negotiations. This is it, by the way, the private negotiations that are the hallmark of the vibrant and dynamic MPVD marketplace. MPVD is, of course, cable operators. The hallmark of the vibrant and dynamic. Do you not think that somebody from the cable industry lobby wrote this?
I know.
Mailed it and said, here's $1,000. Would you make this your opinion? Vibrant and dynamic. I think that probably we could make it so that there are copyright protections and DRM in these devices.
Oh boy, they're dragging the guy. He's in.
Oh, you were watching this the whole time?
Well, I have dehydrated from my palm sweating. It was just on the side.
What was he
you know
wearing?
me and
Suction
heights.
cups, or was he just free climbing?
He was using suction cups, yeah.
That's such a stupid thing to do.
So they grabbed him and he tried to hold on, but they got him in legs akimbo. Oh yeah.
I don't think they can't really. What are they going to? Trespassing is all they can charge him with, right?
Public nuisance. If anyone does something stupid while he's in, there's some other things.
Okay.
General idiocy, is that something?
Yeah, it's pretty much there.
Idiocy. Too bad. SeaWorld took down the picture of the dolphin taking the iPad out of the lady's hands. Oh.
I didn't get to see it.
I didn't either. SeaWorld Orlando. A woman tries to take a picture of a dolphin with her iPad. The dolphin, clearly an Android fan, jumped up, grabbed the iPad, and dropped it. Took it away from her, unfortunately. This video has been removed by the user. Okay. You are a violation of our copyright of taking pictures inside SeaWorld.
Oh, is that why it was removed?
I betcha. It was taken by another patron. But I'm pretty sure they have rules about, you are on private property, right? You can't just take pictures. What would this world come to if you just take pictures willy-nilly, violating my copyright? You might as well, next you'll be taking pictures of the Eiffel Tower. How dare you?
All right.
Let's take, there's no break to take. Tell you what, let's wrap this sucker up with the back of the book here. Stacey, you want to start with a pick or a tip or an IoT thing or a rock band or anything that you like?
Gosh. So I was slacking. I'm going to be honest. Totally slacking this week. I could show the Ring, but I haven't tried it out. But if you want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, the stick-up cam.
This is the stick-up cam, which looks exactly like the Ring doorbell.
Clearly, they've basically taken just the doorbell part off.
Yes. It's just as heavy. I'm trying
it's got a battery, but then if you use by the way, we should say this is a sponsor and we're not doing an ad for it right now, but Stacey has a review.
I have lots of these crazy.
I like cameras. I like cameras.
Testing a bunch of them. Yeah.
I think they make you paranoid though. I have a brother-in-law who has cameras all over, and you go to dinner with him, and all he's doing is looking at his phone, seeing if somebody's bothering his house the whole time.
So, you know what? Actually, I lied. This one isn't my camera. This isn't my pick. So my pick is the Netatmo Welcome camera, which is $199. I don't have it with me and I can't show you my visual because there are people down there and they would be sad. So it's kind of lame pick, but it's awesome because it has facial recognition. So it disarms itself and arms itself based on the length of time it's been since it's seen a recognized person who lives in the house.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah.
Weird.
That's kind of cool.
The other thing that everyone would love is Netatmo is very privacy focused. So what they do is all of my data doesn't go to the cloud. I can store it on an SD card or I can run it from my own FTP server.
Oh, neat.
So let me just, I'm checking. Back. It's asking me to validate people.
Netatmo. So the idea is once it knows it's you, it says, okay, fine.
Yes.
That's kind of cool.
So I'm looking to see if anyone's there. And it works with if this and that. And
I hope my Jibo does this. It'd be nice if my Jibo does this. Says, "Oh, hi, Leo. Yeah. It's okay. Then I won't bring out the guns."
The nice thing about it. Oh yeah, you're.
What does it do if it doesn't recognize you?
It vibrates to alert me. So and then I go to it.
I'm so nervous. There's somebody in the house. There's somebody in the house.
Yeah, your brother-in-law is gonna be getting this any second.
So it basically is like. Someone's in the house, and then you go to, and it shows you video, which it stores. It takes the video, and then it
just makes me more paranoid. I don't want to know.
Okay, I was going to try to show you what it looks like, but
let's see. Can't do it.
Here, let me.
It's hard to do, I know, on a Skype call.
Like, this is so difficult. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It's green because my blinds are down, and there's that's not what it looks like
What a
normally.
lovely home you have.
It's got night vision.
Very modern.
It is very modern. And there's pictures of people. So yeah.
Cool.
That is.
Did you train it, to recognize you and your daughter and your husband, or?
I did. Oh,
Nice.
This was the live view. No one's there though, so you can't see anything.
It's not vibrating.
See, there it is.
Nice.
Without all the stuff.
Cool. Are you upstairs and that's downstairs?
That is downstairs.
Nice. I found, by the way, the video, thanks to the chat room. Here's the dolphin, just because it'll make you feel good.
Oh, good.
Here's the dolphin about to watch closely. This lady's trying to take a picture with an iPad. And the dolphin, quite rightly, says, "I'm sorry, madam. No one should take pictures with iPads." Boom. Splash, slams it in the water. And goes,
It was like he's laughing.
Dolphins are real jerks. I can see that happening.
yeah. I kissed a dolphin. I probably shouldn't have done it. Now I realize it's they say it's cruel and blah, blah, blah. But I swam with a dolphin. I kissed a dolphin. It was a very cool experience. This was on earlier this year in January. It's really fun. Okay, there you go. That's just a little something. Not my pick or anything. Jeff Jarvis, do you have a number?
I think I do. Stacey, I didn't talk about Occupy Democrats last week, did I?
No.
I don't think I
No,
did. Okay,
Jeff,
good.
You did not.
So I don't know if you see this passing by your Facebook feed, but there's a Facebook group called Occupy Democrats, and they make memes. That's all. Pretty much all they do is make memes. They made like 15,000 of them, and they're as memes go, they're very effective and very good. And so I was curious about this because I wanted to teach a lesson to my media friends that we've got to stop thinking we always make destinations. We have to make things that people can use as part of their own conversations. A point I've made about YouTube videos, these are social tokens. So these guys do a really good job of it. Now, clearly they're partisan. So I talked to, I'm going to forget his name suddenly, Rafael Rivero, who is the co-founder with his twin brother, Omar. They're 29-year-old Mexican-Americans. So they're really enjoying going after Trump right now. And they make memes that pass around. So each meme gets about 1 million impressions. Total of 100 million memes I'll explain that in a second, a week, and much higher as well.
Wow.
What's fascinating to me is that they, my point there, Leo just showed a front page of the New York Daily News. A journalist friend of mine argued that that's actually the original meme.
Yeah.
A tabloid front page is a meme.
Yeah, well, it is, isn't it? Topless
yeah, it
body
is.
in a headless bar or whatever it
And
was.
Jim Rich, who's the current editor of the Daily News, has been doing a brilliant job, very anti-Trump, with his page one.
I'm with
really
stupid.
making huge statements. And people passing them around. They're not passing the story around. They're passing the front page. So Occupy Democrats does this. I think there are lessons. So I was fascinated that they also have a web page, but to them it's just it's a byproduct. No big deal, because that's where the ads are. And the ads are sufficient that both brothers quit their work. They've hired another, I think, about 3 people, including fact checkers now, to put out the memes. And they made a business out of it. And I found this utterly fascinating. So today on .nyc, the second half of it, we interviewed Rafael Rivero.
Oh, fun.
On it, and you can see it on my Facebook feed. Using,
I want to see it.
Mevo. And also, on the .nyc feed, .nyc show feed, you'll see the nice cameras feed. We're doing both. But anyway, so I found Occupy Democrats really, really interesting. They have 3.5 million likes. He says that it's the most popular political page on YouTube, beating both Trump and Clinton. And only one media company has ever approached them and offered them a web TV show, but they also said, no, we don't really care about that. We care about our memes. So all the things that we do is let's make a destination with articles on it. Yeah, okay, we do that, but no big deal. One TV show, not too busy. They make memes. And so I was at this Aspen thing this weekend, and it's Chattermouth's rule, but I can say, except I can say who was there, and so I'll quote myself, not him, but I saw Nick Kristof from the New York Times, who's incredibly advanced with social. And he asked me, what's next for me? What should I do? Because Nick's been great on Twitter and great on Facebook. And I said, I think that, the Washington Post and the New York Times need meme desks. I think they need to be able to take some of the ideas out of columns and stories and put them out there in a mechanism by which people can share them on their own. So I just found that interesting. And if you're interested too, I wrote something on Medium, and there's the interview on .nyc today.
What was the first internet meme?
Good question.
Was it the little dude with the Star Wars thing?
Star Wars guy? No. How about this? This is the hamster
dance?
dance.
Wait, no, the dancing baby. Remember on the GeoCities? What's her name? Thank you.
Ally McBeal.
Ally McBeal. I was like,
Ally
Calista
McBeal.
Flockhart.
Do you have my audio? Because we got to hear the. I think this was the first internet meme.
I think you're right.
It predates YouTube. It predates. It almost is like the earliest days. When was Ally McBeal? Right? I mean,
Shrugging. Don't know.
Ooga chaka. The original Hamster Dance site, which is gone. It was also incredibly stupid.
Oh, my daughter loves this one. It's called Corgi Orgy.
Corgi Orgy.
Corgi Orgy, except she pronounces it Corgi Orgy, and we don't actually want to change that. And it's incredibly stupid, and you can make your own ones, but that's the big thing. Her friends.
That's what all the 9-year-olds are doing is
That's what all the 9-year-olds are doing.
Corgi
I saw
Orgy.
a great one this week. Somebody did a typo. Ooh.
This is it. This is Corgi Orgy.
You can make your own, so you can put your own animation in there.
That's okay. I'll go with the stock.
Well, if you're going to make your own, you have to go to my.corgiorgy.com.
So a journalist speaking of our earlier cargo shorts, typed in cargo shorts, but accidentally typed in corgi shorts. Go ahead. Do it.
Corgy?
No, Corgi.
Aye. My sister has corgis, as does the Queen of England.
And then look on the images. There's corgi shorts.
Apparently they make them.
Oh, my God.
And
for your daughter.
Yeah. Corgi butt is a lot like human butt. And so I could see why the corgi.
Stephen King has a corgi.
Leo, how the hell did you come up with that observation? I think you need to be reported to somebody. I'm not sure who. But looking at corgi asses and coming up with that conclusion frightens me, Leo.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Well, I was going to do a quick unboxing of this. You already have it if you had it for several weeks. This is the Samsung 360 cam. And, the downside to this is you have to have a Samsung phone, like Galaxy S7 or...
You can record the video to the card and then use software on a PC. Okay. But you don't get all the benefit.
Now, the one thing I was interested in is it is better than the Ricoh Theta S, which I've really loved.
I also have right here.
Yeah. And it's a little bit cheaper. I think it's $300, not $350, something like that.
No, I think this one's $350.
Is it the same? Maybe that's the official price now.
I bought at VidCon. They brought 500 of these Samsung things. You couldn't get them in the States till about now.
Right.
So that's why I was.
Yeah, I think I got mine from Korea or somewhere. Yeah.
They're coming soon.
But the quality seems pretty good.
Very good. Very good.
Which is kind of nice. And you can record to the phone. When Samsung showed this with the release of the S7, they demonstrated live streaming from the phone to the S7. And the way they did it was a kind of a couple of guys walking around Paris, and their friend couldn't come. And so their friend was wearing his VR helmet. And it was as if he was with the guys in Paris because they're walking around and they're taking him with them. But you said it doesn't do live streaming.
I don't think so yet. It's coming.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's a very nice device. It's well done.
Quality looks pretty good. And I saw a friend, Dana Brunetti's stream of his Office, and I was so impressed. I thought, wow, that's pretty good. I love these ideas. The ideas of these 360-degree images and videos as well. I think that's really pretty cool.
I think this is where, in our school at CUNY, our Dean Sarah Bartlett and I were talking a few weeks ago. where do we start with all this? Because we got to worry about this. But my view is that we start with 360 photography with students and just get them to think in a different plane.
Still photography. Yeah, I think you're right.
Still.
Yeah.
And then advanced video, and then AR and VR will eventually come, but you don't need all those tools.
Right.
What's Stacy? You're laughing at Leo, I hope.
Yes.
What?
I was looking at something else and then boom.
What?
minor Leo came up.
What?
Oh, but you know what you should do? Every VR camera or the back of all phones now with VR, they should have little googly eyes to be pasted on.
Oh yes, Google AI is a must.
So speaking of which, do you think the next generation of phones will have 360 on them? 2 equal cameras on either side?
No, because you have to look how big it has to be for the fisheye. I mean, it's too.
And that's double the data. And we still haven't made bandwidth.
I think it's fine to have this is the perfect compromise where if you want it, you can buy it and it ties to your phone. And it has a weird built-in tripod, although you can remove it.
You can take it off. It's a standard mount.
Yeah, so you could put it on a regular tripod. In fact, I bought the Mevo tripod, so it'll go right on there as well. I'll do some more images with this and recording. It's not as compact as the Theta, but
right. Though the Theta, it's as tall as a Theta.
Yeah.
Almost.
You see the bulge on the Theta lens? That's the problem with putting that on a phone.
All right, but imagine it's a little small. That's not that bad. And first, I'll bet you there'll be a specialized phone. We'll have this before you name it.
And Google would probably do it because Daydream is a big initiative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe the new Nexus will be a 360 Nexus, huh? Nexus 360.
I'm hoping that
heard it here first.
I want to bring. You had good experiences traveling in Europe with the Google Fi stuff, right?
Yes.
And so did Mike Elgin. He's had
not perfect. Some places faster than others, but this was before they moved up to the 4G.
And now you pay the same price in most of those countries that you would pay if you were at home, which I really like. You don't have international data expense. So I'm hoping that a new Nexus phone comes out before we go to Europe on September 22nd. I might make that. We might be able to do that. My friends, we have come to the end of this fabulous episode. Thank you so much, Stacey Higginbotham. You'll find her online at Stacey on IoT.com. And Stacey spelled with an E, S-T-A-C-E-Y. She's also the host of a fabulous podcast about the Internet of Things with Kevin Toffel. It's great to have you, Stacey. Thank you so much. There's the IoT podcast, episode 70.
That's the one that's the light thing that comes with a voltage meter and has Erlang. Ba-ba!
Can you write in code to the Erlang? Can you get a shell on the light bulb and code in it? That's what I want.
You can right now, no, but they are going to open it up. So
that would be kind of cool.
See, wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Anything else you want to plug, Stacey?
I feel like I've plugged a lot of things. I will say this next week's podcast, I've got a guy from DEF CON. So if you're really concerned about hacking and IoT, the Thursday show is the one to listen to. So tomorrow morning.
I'm looking forward to your interview with Dr. Venkata Renduchintala.
That is Wednesday. So
and make sure you treat him with respect and do not call him by his first name. Call him Mr. Renduchintala. I messed it up there every time, Stacey.
I know him, so it's doubly bad. It's really shameful. There's just words I can't say on air. I just epidemiology.
There you go. There you go.
So it's just self-intimidation.
Unfortunately,
whenever I look at epitome, my brain says epitome.
Oh yeah, epitome, because it looks like epitome.
It looks like epitome.
Yeah. I say episiotomy, so there's a problem right there. Thank you so much, Jeff Jarvis. We're going to get you that buzzer, Stacey. We're going to get you that buzzer. It's going to go right to my chair.
We're going to adapt one of those sex toys, those remote sex toys.
A non-lethal dose.
Higher voltage on him.
Yeah, non-lethal, but it's got to hurt.
I don't actually want to be in that position anymore. I'm like, no.
My sensor. That's all right. I'll give it to Karsten. He can do it.
There you go.
He'll be zapping me all the time, though. I know, Karsten. You pronounced it epitome. Thank you for joining us. We do the show every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific. I'm sorry, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, 18:30, and what is it, 20:30 UTC. I just probably confused the heck of it all you. Let me do that again. We do this show every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2030 UTC. You can watch live. Join us in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. If you can't be here live, though, don't worry. We have on-demand audio and video of every show on our website, twit.tv/twig, and wherever you find finer podcasts. Next week, Stacy's going to be at the Intel Developers Forum, and she'll, I'm sure, have some fun things to say from there. I hope that'll be fun. If you can make it back to the hotel or find a place to light. We've had Jeff do shows on his bottom in the middle of a conference. I've done them with
smoke signals.
Yeah. At a pool while there's a model shoot going on. Jeff will work anywhere, anytime.
Mine might not be that exciting. It is IDF. It's not a lot of models there, to my knowledge.
Well, yeah, it's IDF. You don't know. Stacy's awesome. Jeff's awesome. You're awesome for being here. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Everything is awesome.